Chapter 853. Xiaobei and the rest are still very hard-working. Wang Wan looked at Xiaobei, who was making a lot of noise in front of everyone, and praised him. This is the benefit of having a good family background. Other than the children of the imperial family, the other children don't have a chance to learn about the big world. Perhaps the children of ordinary families are also promising, but the ratio is definitely not as good as the children of the imperial family. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Xiaobei, who had become slightly tanned, and was also very happy. He knew that this was the power of an example. What his younger siblings did was not really to be qualified officials, but to treat doing things as a game. Other children played house, but Xiaobei and the rest were more practical and would work hard to make the game good. Wang Wan used her hand to push back the hair that was hanging down on her face. Seeing the people of more than 100 counties below discussing how to transport this year's rent to the capital, Wei Wei shook her head. Xiaobao, now that we are provincial commanders, we can control the local taxes. Should we exempt the taxes in Jian and county? Otherwise, with their ability not to mention transporting the rent to the capital, even if they transport it to Jili province, the amount of food they eat along the way will be several times more than the rent. It's inevitable. Paying rent is an obligation. We can directly transfer the rent that they pay to the yamen of Jian and county. I have decided to move the Bohai provincial commander's residence here. It's just beside Jian and county near the sea. At that time, we will vigorously develop the marine aquaculture industry. This is a long process, but it has to be carried out. We can't always let the northeastern region lack people. If others don't take the initiative to come over, we will attract them over. When the people from North America return, we will plant all kinds of seeds in the entire northeastern region. At that time, whoever wants to taste the freshness can transport it themselves. When the sea route is developed, the land route naturally needs to be developed as well. Now that the medical conditions are better, there are also fewer deaths. In another 10 years, there will suddenly be a blowout explosion. As Zhang Xiaobao talked about the rent, he casually talked about the direction of future development. At the same time, he was worried about why the people he sent out had not returned. Too much time had passed. After the new year it would be 2 years. Wang Wan frowned. After some thought she asked, "Aren't we going to promote new crops throughout the Great Tang? There's no hurry. If we promote it directly, others may not be willing to plant it. I'm afraid that if there's a problem, it will affect their original income. We have to set an example for them. I'll send a telegram later and ask Jili province to ship pottery and other daily necessities here." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he began to jump again. "Oh, if you send it over, I don't think the commoners can afford it. It's not selling, it's giving. It's their obligation to pay the rent. Let's give them benefits and send a message to the people who ran to the border of Xinlua to make a move." Zhang Xiaobao thought of something else. Just as he finished speaking, the radio on his back started beeping. The sound was not loud, but it was heard by the people in the courtyard. The unique sound made them look around, trying to figure out what it was. "Why, I see there are 2 savages on the roof." Xiaobei's eyes were sharp. She looked up and saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan climbing on the roof. However, the 2 of them looked a little disheveled, so she did not recognize them immediately. The guard who was in charge of protecting her stretched out his hand and pulled out a few pistols. He pointed them at the 2 of them warily. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan shrank their heads at the same time. Zhang Xiaobao shouted, "If you dare to point your guns at me again, I'll shoot all of you." It's my brother's voice. The familiar voice made Xiaobei's expression change. She then shouted with all her might, "Brother, I miss you. Come down quickly. Why did you run up to the roof?" Wei Wei, the commoner of Jianan City, was stunned. Then she suddenly became excited. She could finally meet the legendary figure. Li Bai also had a look of anticipation. He wanted to see how the person who could decide his official position looked like. Following the sound of 2 people landing on the ground, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan jumped down one after another. Everyone was stunned again. When they looked at the 2 of them, They realized that they could not reconcile the image in their minds with the two people in front of them. Their hair was messy, and their clothes were tattered. They looked worse than people who had escaped from the wilderness. Could they be the legendary god of war and god of wealth? It seemed to be a little difficult to convince oneself. Xiao Bei did not care too much. She spread her arms and legs and rushed into Zhang Xiaobao's arms. She kissed Zhang Xiaobao's face hard. "Brother, where did the two of you go to play? Did you kill a few big tigers with your bare hands? County Magistrate Zhang, can you arrange a place for me to stay? I'm tired and hungry from the journey." Zhang Xiaobao also kissed his sister hard. Then he put on a straight face and started talking about how he was doing. "Ha ha ha, I didn't know that Lord Zhang is here. Please forgive me. Guards, can't you see that Lord Zhang and Lord Wang are travel-worn? They fought tigers along the way and suffered a lot. Hurry up and arrange it. Lord Zhang, Lord Wang, this way please." "Lord Zhang, what are you carrying?" Xiao Bei laughed happily. She hugged her brother's neck with one hand and led the way to the house with the other. She was very curious about the thing her brother was carrying. As Zhang Xiaobao carried his sister and walked, he said, "This is a treasure. In the future, if you want to communicate with your grandparents and parents in the capital, you can use this thing to send messages quickly." "Me see. Xiao Bei, why did you become tanned?" "Brother, I helped them make a greenhouse. When are we going back with you? It's not fun at all. We can't hear stories. I don't want to be a county magistrate. I want to go back and be another official. I want to follow my brother and sister." Xiao Bei felt a little regretful and complained to her brother. "Okay, we don't want to be a county magistrate. We want to be an official with a higher position. I'll accompany you. Go and do your work first. I'll tell you stories when we rest." Zhang Xiaobao was indeed tired. He kissed his brothers and sisters one by one and took a hot bath with Wang Wan. After hurriedly eating, he lay on the Kong and fell asleep. Li Bai didn't find a chance to talk to Zhang Xiaobao and Xiao Bei. He had no choice but to go back to his work. He was also thinking about how to arrange a better position for himself when the two woke up. Compared to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's happiness after a long journey to meet up with their brothers and sisters, Fanyang Jidushi Zhang had a very bad time. The family followed him to a remote place and could no longer see the prosperity of the capital. In the capital, he was busy as the head of the secretariat. Here he also couldn't relax. There were many trivial matters waiting for him to take care of. The most annoying thing was that the ability of the officials under his rule was far worse than that of the officials in the capital. In the capital, he didn't have to speak too clearly. The officials could understand. Even if there were occasionally people who did something wrong, he could say that the officials didn't understand his intentions. In his current location, if he did not explain things clearly, the officials would be stunned and ask him about the specific situation over and over again. In addition, the roads here were not smooth, and it was far from the sea. Many people had migrated out, which made him very uncomfortable. "Darren, after the autumn harvest, we should plant winter wheat. I heard that the Imperial Court's agriculture temple has made new seeds. I wonder if Darren can have someone buy them from there. After all, Darren used to be familiar with the agriculture temple, so that next year's harvest will be better." The official in charge of agriculture found Zhang Shua and discussed the seeds with him. Could be said that the people here were all ethnic minorities. When they talked, they didn't beat around the bush. They were straightforward and didn't consider Zhang Shua's disappointment. As soon as Zhang Shua heard the two words "the capital," he felt uncomfortable. When he heard the words "the agriculture temple," the first thing he thought of was not the seeds. Instead, he thought of the matter of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family raising the status of the agriculture temple. Many of the items in the agriculture temple were taken care of by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. The seeds were indeed well researched. The yield was high and the growth cycle was short. However, it was always uncomfortable for him to write a letter to them. They would definitely laugh at him for overestimating himself and insisting on opposing Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. No, he was determined not to ask for the seeds. He couldn't afford to lose face. After thinking about it, Zhang Shua said with a sullen face, "The seeds of the agriculture temple are still being researched. Moreover, the distance is long. Even if they receive the letter, by the time the seeds are delivered, the planting time will have passed. You are in charge of agriculture. Why don't you think about it yourself? Are you worse than the officials of the agriculture temple?" Think about it myself. Where should I start? Sir, you used to work in the capital. Why don't you give me a reminder so that I can find someone to do it? Sir, I thought of something. The agriculture temple is far away and Jili province is close. That Zhang Xiaobao must have a way to get good seeds. Why don't you ask him? That's right. I will immediately send someone. This person in charge of agriculture was very honest. In the blink of an eye, he thought of a good idea. He believed that he could successfully get the seeds. It was said that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very supportive of the common people's lives. You are not allowed to go. No one is allowed to go. Whoever dares to go will be punished by me. How can the seeds of Jili province be planted in my Fanyang? You are not acclimatized. Go mind your own business. Zhang Shua seemed to be sitting on a barrel of explosives. He reprimanded the person in charge of agriculture and waved his hand, shooing him out like he was shooing away flies. When he was the only one left in the room, Zhang Shua seemed to have aged a lot in an instant. He fell weakly into a chair and said angrily, "Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, do you think that after you take care of me, I will be unable to recover? Just you wait. You want to build roads. When I come to Fanyang, I won't let you succeed." The guard who was standing outside the door waiting for the summons, heard Zhang Shua's voice and shook his head helplessly. He said to the other person beside him, "Lord Zhang is crazy. He still wants to deal with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. It seems that he will only stop after he loses his life." The other person looked around and saw that no one was paying attention to him. He nodded. Lord Zhang Xiaobao is angry. The idea that Zhang Shua came up with is inferior. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan don't have the time to care about him. He wants to obstruct the construction of roads. I heard that it will cost a lot of money to build a railway. If Lord Zhang Shi really stops him, I think His Majesty will chop off his head. Sigh. That's right, that's right. It's better to think of a way to leave as soon as possible. We can't be with him. Otherwise, we won't even know when we will lose our lives. If you don't believe me, you can look at Xinlua. They also didn't allow the construction of the river back then. Now that they have taken out the money, I don't think there's any hope for the road. The guard who spoke previously lowered his voice, trying to find a new way out. Like what he said, the road from Jili province to Daxing city was still being repaired. He had recruited many people to work together. Before winter, the road would be repaired. However, except for this section, the road from Jili province to other places in Xinlua had not been repaired at all. After the river in Xinlua was cleared, the merchants in Xinlua had spent more than 500,000 strings of coins. Although the bridge was only an iron chain, it still cost 200,000 strings of coins. The merchants were waiting for the road to be repaired so that they could conveniently exchange goods with Tang dynasty and collect some tolls. However, the 1 million strings of coins that they had taken out had only been repaired for a short distance. Most of them were in Xinlua. On the contrary, Tang dynasty didn't take any new actions. No matter how Li Dong's group calculated it, they didn't feel that the road in front of them was worth 1 million strings of coins. They always felt depressed. Standing at the entrance of the bridge where they collected customs duties, they watched batches of grains being transported here and bolts of silk being paid. Finally, they couldn't stand it anymore as they walked across the bridge to look for Zhang Tai. They wanted to ask him what had happened. Soon after Zhang Tai received the order to take action, he found the person in charge of the other aspects and prepared to cooperate with them. The moment he handed over the command, he was assigned a task. Before he carried it out, Li Dong had come to him with a dispirited look. "Boss Li, are you free today?" Zhang Tai greeted Li Dong with a sincere smile. "Not bad. I'm out for a walk. By the way, I'll take a look at the newly repaired road and your shops and boits. The business here is good. So boisterous here. Li Dong tried his best to restrain his impulse to tell Zhang Tai about the road. Instead, he talked in circles with Zhang Tai as he glanced over the businesses on this side of the river. At the same time, he felt even worse. They had made it clear that Xinlua would take 80% of the rent and tolls of the road in Xinlua. Xinlua would take 20% of the rent and tolls of the road in Jili province. However, there were no shops on that side of the road. Those shops were on the left side of Daxing City, which was in the sphere of influence of Tang dynasty. Therefore, Tang dynasty couldn't collect tolls there. Since the river was connected and the bridge was built, none of the merchants' teams came here from Daxing City. The current situation was that the merchants from other places would directly take the boats from Jili province or Boarding province and pay some tolls to the new wharf at Sashui River. After that, they would unload their goods at the wharf and take another land route to the bridge. They would only pay 20% of the tariff instead of tolls. When they rested, they didn't cross the river. Instead, they rested in the boits and inns of Tang dynasty. These shops didn't belong to the share of profits as stipulated in the contract. Li Dong then realized that he had spent all the money that he should have spent. He didn't earn any money that he should have earned. The transportation fee was earned by the shipping companies of Zhang family and Wang family, while the consumption income was earned by the shops here. Therefore, he had an impulse to swear as he felt that he had been cheated by Zhang Xiaobao. What a liar, what a big liar. He cheated Tufan and Nippon before coming to Xinlua. Li Dong scolded inside. Someone is thinking about me. I'm afraid that it's Xinlua. They reacted too fast just now. Zhang Xiaobao, who was telling stories on the mountaintop with his younger brother and sister, sneezed as he said. Wang Wan pursed her lips into a smile. I'm afraid that they're praising you. They're praising that you, an international swindler, are finally useful. Sister, is an international swindler very powerful? Xiaobei raised her head and blinked her big eyes as she asked. That's quite powerful. Wang Wan was certain. Li Dong didn't know that Zhang Xiaobao was such a professional. If he could cheat, he would cheat. If he couldn't, he would think of ways to cheat. Otherwise, his reputation would be damaged. What he was thinking about now was how to get his money back. He would get as much as he could. He didn't expect the road to continue to be repaired. Therefore, he tried to find a topic to talk about and said, Steward Zhang, I see that your fleet comes and goes frequently. You even transported a lot of food and cloth. This year's harvest seems to be quite good. Well, it's okay. Speaking of which, I'm not very sure either. I'm only in charge of construction and know nothing about farming. Since Mr. Li is free, why don't you go to Shuiyun room for a drink? You can help me with the reception fee. It's almost winter. If I don't spend this year's money, I won't be able to save it next year. Zhang Tai enthusiastically pulled Li Dong towards the restaurant between the clouds and the water not far away. On the way, he said to Li Dong, I gave you a lot of vouchers last time. You can't use them after the new year. Use them when you need to. Li Dong thought that it was indeed inappropriate to talk about things outside, so he followed Zhang Tai. After hearing Zhang Tai's words, he looked like he agreed. However, he was cursing in his heart. Zhang family and Wang family were so poor that they wanted to make people spend money. The vouchers couldn't be used as money directly. For every 1,000 yuan used, they had to spend 9,000 yuan. The price of food and drinks here was 5 times that of Chongfeng Pavilion. Only idiots would eat at the restaurant between the clouds and the water and blue sea silver sand. After walking for a few steps, the two people soon entered the restaurant between the clouds and the water. The first 3 floors of the restaurant were relatively solid. They chose a room where they could see the river and told the waiter to warm the wine. After that, they casually chose 2 signature dishes. The waiter served the cold plates first so that they could enjoy the wine. Zhang Tai spread out a piece of dried tofu. He brushed some sauce on it and sprinkled some chopped green onions on it. Then he rolled it up and took a big bite. After chewing it forcefully, he swallowed it. After letting out a long sigh, he said, "Mr. Li, try this. It looks simple but it's refreshing." Obviously, Li Dong didn't want to smell the green onions. He responded with a smile. However, he picked up a garlic eggplant and tasted it. He had to admit that the food and drinks between the clouds and the water were worth that price. Although they were made with the same ingredients, they were much more delicious than those made in Chongfeng Pavilion. Steward Zhang, when the weather turns cold and the ground freezes, will the road not be able to be repaired? Li Dong looked at the river and asked Zhang Tai. Zhang Tai looked very serious as he explained to Li Dong, "If Mr. Li is willing to pay more, the road can be repaired in winter. You don't have to be afraid of snow. The ground can be melted by sprinkling salt. If the ground freezes, you can roast it with fire. However, it will cost a lot. It's not worth it. How about repairing it next spring?" "You're right, Steward Zhang. It's not worth it. Steward Zhang, I've seen fewer businessmen coming here by land these days. Is it because the road is not easy to travel and it's hard to repair it?" Of course, Li Dong didn't want to continue investing money. Against his will. He said that there were fewer businessmen coming here. Actually, there were no businessmen coming here at all. They were all transported by ship. Zhang Tai revealed an embarrassed look. "To tell you the truth, it's not hard to repair the road. The main problem is that there's a small problem with the raw materials. The price of the explosives used to blow up the stones has increased by 3 times. On the other hand, the commoners are living a better life. If we still pay them the same wages as before, no one is willing to do it. If we don't solve these 2 problems, we won't be able to repair the road with 11 million strings of cash. It's estimated that we won't even be able to repair 1/3 of the road. Why don't we wait a little longer?" When we signed the contract, Mr. Li wasn't in a hurry. Therefore, we didn't specify a completion date on the contract. Next year, I heard that the explosives will be mass-produced. By then, all the difficulties will be solved. The road can be repaired. There are difficulties, but I believe that we can overcome them. Seeing Zhang Tai's honest look, Li Dong really wanted to slap all the sauce on his face. He was obviously looking for an excuse, yet he still said it in such a dignified manner. How shameless was he? Li Dong understood that the key point was that he didn't specify the completion date on the contract. It was reasonable for him to say that it would take 8 to 10 years. "Steward Zhang, yesterday someone else told me that they wanted to repair the road behind our shop. It's just that we've been spending too much recently and can't spare any money. I see that we haven't spent the 1 million strings of cash on the road from Jili province to Xinhua. I wonder if you can take it out for us to use first." "I can't do that. If the money is in my hands, I might lend it to you if you want to borrow it. But I'm only responsible for the construction chores. I'm more in charge of business. I'm not in charge of the specific accounts. Even if I promise you I can't take out the money. Haven't a lot of materials been transported to your shop recently? You've already collected a lot of customs duties. Why don't you use that money to do it?" Zhang Tai revealed a helpless look as he changed the topic to customs duties. Li Dong pointed at the place where money was collected with his chopsticks. "Where's the cash?" Back then, it was said that if we couldn't pay for the customs duties, we could use goods to pay for them. Isn't that what we've done? Piles of silk, mountains of grain, we can't sell them. It's not just us who are anxious. Even the people of the imperial clan are anxious. Oh, let's wait a little longer. To be honest, our Tang dynasty didn't collect customs duties for a few times. You've taken all the advantages. Young master is really worried. If this goes on, won't he keep losing money? Zhang Tai started to complain. He wanted Xinhua to supply more goods. Li Dong also admitted that he had taken advantage of Zhang Tai in this aspect. However, he still felt that something was wrong. Zhang Tai ordered rice because he was hungry. That gorgeous bowl of rice cost 10 copper coins for one bowl. How expensive! Expensive. Yes, it was the problem of price. Chapter 854. With the arrival of early winter, The southern region was still warm. Occasionally it would drizzle, which made people put on extra clothes. In the north, it began to snow lightly. The county magistrate of Jian County, Zhang Xiaobei, had already led the children's regiment to prepare all the tools. They were waiting for the snow that was bigger than goose feathers to build the white Great Wall. There were also snowmen standing guard behind the battlements. The tinkling of bells spread along the Vermilion Bird Avenue. Coupled with the pace of the horses, it was very rhythmic. It didn't stop until it reached the gate of the Imperial Palace. The soldiers guarding in front of the Imperial Palace saw the flag raised on the carriage. They hesitated for a moment, but still gritted their teeth and approached to check. The carriage was full of food, which was rented from Jian County. There was also a large box containing local specialties such as ginseng, deer antler, bear gall, and so on. The newly selected guards who had been here for less than a year also approached the carriage. When they saw the nondescript things in the carriage, they obviously didn't look good. They felt provoked. Just as they were about to reprimand them, they were stopped by the leader beside them. This is. The leader could understand what the 9 little people painted on the flag represented, but he couldn't judge whether someone was faking it, so he asked implicitly. The coachman didn't make it difficult for them. He took out a pile of documents from his arms. There were the seals of the 9 people from various departments in Jian County, the official documents of the Bohai Jidushi, his own identity document, and the inspection record of the senior officer guarding the gate before entering the city. The anti-forgery mark on it was clear. There was also a sealed letter for people to send to the Imperial Palace for inspection. Stay here. Don't ask, don't move, and don't leave. The leader ordered a few of his subordinates, picked up the letter with the seal, and hurried inside. Not long after, the Imperial Palace opened a corner door. The loyal little eunuch Luo Bin came out to welcome them. He ordered people to arrange the coachman to rest elsewhere. After checking the carriage again and making sure there were no hidden compartments, he sat in the driver's seat and waved the whip to drive the carriage into the Imperial Palace. Brother Qin, how can the carriage? The guard who wanted to reprimand the coachman just now saw the carriage being driven into the Imperial Palace. He pointed at the leader beside him and asked, "How can we go in?" Xiao Bei sent the rent and tribute to His Majesty, so he naturally has to go in. Don't you think so? The leader said matter-of-factly. Yes, oh no. Who's Xiao Bei? The newcomer obviously didn't know. The county magistrate of Jian County. Then it can be sent to the palace. If you want to know the details, I'll tell you in detail at Old Zhang's braised food shop on the next street after your shift. Okay, it's my treat. It was the autumn harvest, and the amount of grain harvested from various places had been reported to the capital. Li Longji looked at the data and felt that the gloomy sky was so clear. He could even see the beauty of nature in the leaves that were blown away by the wind. Gao Lisher rushed over with Luo Bin and the carriage. He knew that only the local specialties in the carriage were really sent from Jian County, and it was the Shui Yun gang's help. The rest of the grain was distributed from Jili province under the name of Jian. No one would be stupid enough to send a carriage of grain from Jian. When Gao Lisher found the emperor, Li Longji was fiddling with the train. He connected pieces of wood to the rails and fully wound the front of the train. There were 10 carriages behind it. When he loosened his hands, the train started to move on the tracks. When the string was out of strength, he wound it again. He didn't have enough fun. The sound of the bell covered the sound of the train. Li Longji looked up with confusion in his eyes. Li Shi is here. This carriage. Your Majesty, this is the rent sent by the county magistrate of Jian County and other officials. There's also a tribute. The rent can be sent to my Xingqing Palace. Your Majesty, it's Jian County Magistrate Zhang Xiaobei. Oh right, I remember. Haha, it's Xiaobei and the others. They also have a good harvest. Quick, let me take a look. It's really not easy. Li Longji's unhappiness disappeared. He left the train and walked to the side of the carriage. He carefully looked at the things that were sent over. He praised without tasting them. Good, it smells good. The ginseng is also beautiful. It's even wearing clothes. This year's harvest is not bad. Gao Lisher couldn't see that this carriage of rice was better than the batch specially provided by Sanshui County. However, since the emperor said it was good, it was naturally good. He replied, "Your Majesty is right. The rice was actually sent from Jili province. There are only about 100 people in Jian'an." Xiao Bao wrote a letter saying that when the cucumbers in the greenhouse are done marinating, he would send someone to send them to Your Majesty to try. This year's harvest is almost twice as good as the previous ones. Xiao Bao mobilized a lot of them and sold them to Xinlua. Li Longji took the letter and continued to praise. Good, the gift from Jili province is also good. It's not easy to have such thoughts. He's much better than the other officials. His handwriting is better, and his writing is smooth and concise. The drop of ink that accidentally dripped looks like a plum blossom. Good. Gao Lisher didn't want to continue this topic. He understood that even if Xiao Bei and the others sent a handful of soil, the emperor would be able to smell the fragrance from it. As if he also felt that his praise was a little too much, Li Longji closed the lid of the tribute again and turned his head to ask, "Xiao Bao has made a move on Xinlua?" "He has already made a move. In the future, the heavily polluted industries will be placed in Xinlua. Now he is suppressing the local agriculture. I reckon that the people of Xinlua won't be able to react in time. Cheap rice hurts the farmers. So what if they react? Once this opening is opened, it won't be easy to block it. The price of rice in the Great Tang can't fall any further. Tomorrow morning we will discuss with the officials and think of a solution." Li Longji said as he looked to the east, as if he wanted to see Xinlua. The people of Xinlua were indeed as Gao Lisher had said. They were still happily receiving the 20% tariff. Ships of grain were unloaded in Sashui and transported to Xinlua in carts. Bolts of cloth were sent as if they didn't need money. After paying 20% of the tariff, one could buy a bucket of polished rice for only 5 copper coins. The people of Xinlua who didn't work in agriculture all bought it and stored it. Their faces revealed a happy expression as if they were celebrating the new year. While many people were happy, the farmers were dumbfounded. In the past, a bucket of rice cost more than 20 copper coins. After they sold it, their days weren't so good. Now, the rice that was shipped from other places was only sold for 5 copper coins. Looking at the grain that they wanted to sell but were reluctant to sell, worry filled their faces. The weavers were also shocked. They worked hard to weave cloth for a month, wanting to sell it for a good price. However, they found that the fine cloth that was shipped from the Great Tang only cost 80 copper coins. At this price, if they sold it, they wouldn't be able to eat until they vomited blood. Chapter 855. After several light snowfalls, a heavy snow finally fell on the land of the Great Tang. The cement road in Chong and was restored to its original appearance the next morning. Li Longji didn't have the snow-melting agent, but he had salt. The inferior salt shipped from Jili province was not used for the consumption of the common people. Most of it was sent to the Ministry of Works to be used as industrial raw materials. It was not a problem to use a small portion of it to melt snow. The morning court session was still held in Xingqing Palace. Unlike previous years, when the officials had to prepare their own hand stoves in the cold, Li Longji had the Ministry of Works build a heating system this year. According to the distance between the steps, pipes were made to deliver hot water. An iron box was installed at the position where each official was to stand. When their feet were warm, their bodies would not be too cold. All of the officials knew that the emperor would not be so idle as to casually do such a thing. He definitely had a purpose to achieve. As expected, when the morning court session started and the officials were feeling the warmth of winter, Li Longji opened his mouth. "Do you know what is under your feet?" The officials were stunned. "What is it? Is there a need to ask?" "It's a heating system." Which official didn't have one in their house? The Ministry of Works fixed all of their houses for free. A thing called a boiler was installed in every house. Those who were not used to sleeping on Kong could still sleep on their beds. Although they thought so, the officials knew that the emperor must have something to say about the heating system. They tacitly looked at the emperor and waited for him to explain. Li Longji didn't wait for others to ask and said directly, "This thing is a heating system. Everyone has one in their house. You don't lack it, right?" Some nodded and some shook their heads. Nodding meant that they had one in their house. Shaking meant that they did not lack it. Li Longji didn't care about the different body language of the officials and continued, "Of course you have one in your house, but the common people don't. I can't be comforted. I can't sleep at night. How will the common people survive in winter?" The officials didn't believe the emperor. If they died without a heating system, how did the people in the past survive? They were all wondering what the emperor was trying to achieve and continued to remain silent. "I heard that there is a thing that can generate electricity, make lights, and produce heat. It's killing two birds with one stone. I'll let the Minister of Works, Zhang Zhong, be in charge of it. What do you think?" Li Longji followed his words and said Zhang Zhong's name. The officials immediately understood. It seemed that the thing that needed to be repaired would cost a lot of money, and they were afraid that they would object to Zhang Zhong being in charge of it, so they took a big detour. "Your Majesty, I have a question. How much does that thing cost?" Zhang Jiuling stood up and asked. It's not a lot of money. I estimate that it's around 10 million or so. However, heating is relatively easy, but generating electricity is difficult. It needs to be tested first, and it might not be possible within a few years." Li Longji's words clearly lacked confidence. When the ministers heard this, they were secretly surprised. 10 million, that was definitely not money but strings of string. If they took out that much money, they might not succeed. In the process, it was very likely that Zhang Zhong would have too much power. No wonder the emperor took a big detour. At this moment, everyone began to consider whether they should agree to Zhang Zhong taking charge of this matter or not. In the end, it was Zhang Jiuling who spoke. "Your Majesty, this subject thinks that Minister Zhang is a good choice to take charge of this matter. After all, Minister Zhang's family is more well-to-do, and I believe that they won't interfere with the research costs. However, I don't know if Your Majesty will take out this much money all at once, or give it bit by bit. How will it be managed?" When the others heard Zhang Jiuling's words, they also felt that giving the money to Zhang Zhong was more reassuring than giving it to others. The so-called well-to-do could be considered as having wealth that could rival an entire country, and they wouldn't be greedy for money. Perhaps this was one of the benefits of having a rich family. Li Longji glanced at Zhang Zhong, who was standing beside him, and continued, "I plan to turn on the heating first. The Ministry of Works has already made a lot of pipes, and the power generation will take some time. Naturally, the money will be given to the Ministry of Works bit by bit. As for the location, I plan to mark out a piece of land in the capital, and I won't allow any unrelated personnel to get close to it. Perhaps I will use some of the people's houses." Understood. This time the officials completely understood. The most important thing was not the money but the location. Perhaps the location would be related to some official's family, and when the time came they would have to give it up. The emperor was worried that if Zhang Zhong chose a good location and the people there did not want to move, they would look for a court official with connections, or spend money to send gifts, and obstruct Zhang Zhong in every possible way. This would make things difficult for Zhang Zhong. "Your Majesty, this subject agrees." At this time, Wei Shu also stood up to express his support. Recently, he wanted to write a book on the development of science and technology, so he often went to the Ministry of Works. He knew that even if the Ministry of Works had a lot of unfinished research, he would be able to get more advanced technology by interacting more with Zhang Zhong. Therefore, he had a good relationship with Zhang Zhong. After the emperor, he was the second person to know that the radio had already appeared. He wanted to see how the power plant generated electricity and how useful it was. After one person stood up to support, several other people also stood up to support. Some of them did not have any other property in the capital, and some of them did not have a high official position and did not have much real power. It was good to have a good relationship with Zhang Zhong. The main reason was that his son had a lot of power. Although he was an official, he was in charge of a large area of land. Except for these few people, the others did not make a sound. They wanted to wait for others to express their views. There were very few people who responded to the request for land. At this time, Zhang Zhong had to stand up and announce, "Those who are occupied can send people to manage the Bohai provincial governor's area, or 100 times the size of the land. They will definitely have a harvest. They can also directly get money to buy 10 times the size of the land." This subject agrees. Yu Wenrong jumped out. It was good that it was not for free. With money, they could buy a bigger piece of land in other places, or go to the northern part of Hebei province and ask for 100 times the size of the land. It was not bad, especially the northern part of Hebei province. Zhang Zhong had just said that there would definitely be a harvest. This credibility could be guaranteed. Although his son, Zhang Xiaobao, always liked to lie, he had never taken the initiative to lie to any of the court officials. If he said that there would be a harvest, then it would definitely not be bad. After Yu Wenrong spoke, more and more court officials began to follow suit, expressing their support for the Ministry of Works to occupy the land. Li Longji sat there looking very unhappy. If there was no benefit to be had, then no one would speak up. Seeing that most of the officials had agreed, he said, "Since that's the case, Minister Zhang, you must do your best. This subject asks your majesty to rest assured." Zhang Zhong replied. He knew what the emperor meant. It was not a power plant or a heating system, but a radio station, or a place to receive and send signals. It had to be built in the most secret place, covering at least a radius of 100 miles around the capital. Li Longji and Wei Wei nodded. This was exactly what he meant. Because after knowing that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's so-called assassination was fake, they followed the vine to the melon and found out that the other people used a radio. They were still working hard to make wires, which made them feel very unbalanced. In the end, under the threat of punishing them, they obtained very useful information. At the research site in Jili province, they were making something called a semiconductor, also known as a game box. A lot of things were placed in a large box, and then a certain kind of signal could be received, which was then converted into sound and transmitted. Li Longji knew that this was a kind of leap forward. If it was done well, it could be used for communication around the capital. When the time came, people who were still dissatisfied around the capital would find the capital and let them see it. It would definitely have a great deterrent effect. Now that the snow has fallen, are there disaster documents sent from various places? After finishing the most important thing, Li Longji began the morning court meeting. "Xiao Yuan, come here and look at the snowman I made. This snowman is called Xiao Bei, which is me. What do you think the one next to it is called?" The area covered by the snow was not small, and there was also a thick layer of snow in Jianan, which was even thicker than in the capital. Xiao Bei, who was listening to the story halfway, could not resist the temptation of the snowy scenery outside and rushed out with a children's group to make a snowman. With the help of a few people, the 2 snowmen that had just been made ran to Xiao Yuan, pulled him to the snowman he made, and asked. Xiao Yuan was a smart person. He did not even think and directly answered, "Is there a need to ask? The other snowman is naturally called Xiao Yuan, which is me." "Wrong, how can it be you? Go and make your own snowman. The other one is called Xiao Bei number 2, do you know? Xiao Bei has many clones, the very powerful ones." Xiao Bei shook his head and denied Xiao Yuan's guess. "Then why did you pull me here?" Xiao Yuan was unwilling. "Because your snowman is faster than mine. Look, the person who helped you build the snowman followed you here, and my person has been building it all along. Now he's faster than you." Xiao Bei answered Xiao Yuan's question sincerely. Xiao Yuan looked up at the sky and appeared very helpless. He sighed again and said, "Old Kong was right. As expected, it's hard to raise a little person. You dare to scold me? I'll tell sister unless you let your people help me build a snowman." Xiao Bei felt that he had something on Xiao Yuan and threatened him. This time Xiao Yuan did not compromise. He ordered his people to quickly build the snowman and was pulled to his brother and sister by Xiao Bei. "Brother-sister, Xiao Yuan scolded me." Xiao Bei was the first to speak. Zhang Xiaobao was discussing with Wang Wan that they would not return to Beijing during the new year this year, and would instead take Xiao Bei and the others on a trip. When he heard Xiao Bei complain, he asked, "How did he scold you?" He said that little people and women are hard to raise. Xiao Bei seemed to have learned a little and understood the meaning behind Xiao Yuan's words. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Wang Wan, then at his younger brother and sister. He smiled and nodded. "That's right, Xiao Yuan is right. Little people are naturally children, and it takes a lot of energy to raise them. Have you seen Pan and June? Do you have to wait on them? Of course, women are also hard to raise. Marrying a wife, eating a wife, dressing a wife, and eating a meal. With our family's business, our clothes and accessories mostly for men or women." You can explain it like that." Xiao Bei was stunned. He looked at his brother with eyes full of worship. His brother was indeed talented. He nodded and said, "Yes, I know. Women have a lot and men need to buy all kinds of things for women. Xiao Yuan, did you hear that? Help me build a snowman later." "Why should I?" It was Xiao Yuan's first time hearing such an explanation. He was thinking about it when he heard Xiao Bei's request and asked in dissatisfaction. "Because of what you just said. Humph, if you don't help me, I won't be your wife when we play house in the future. I won't let you marry me when we grow up. I don't care for it. Trip rope. Don't scare me. I'll do it. I'll go out and get someone to help you. Help you build a snowman. This is called a gentleman does not stand on a collapsing wall. A wise man submits to circumstances." Xiao Yuan had a look of awe-inspiring righteousness. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and smiled. He said to Xiao Bei and Xiao Bei, "Have fun today. Sleep early tonight. I'll take you out to play tomorrow." "Where are we going?" When Xiao Bei heard that they could go out to play, he immediately forgot about the snowman. Lon Bader. "Oh, it's called Yen Rant's Commander-in-Chief Manor. We're going to see the grassland scenery." Zhang Xiaobao pointed to the northwest. "Then can we still build a snowman?" Xiao Bei thought of the snowman again. "Yes, the snow on the grassland is more convenient to build a snowman. Go and play." Zhang Xiaobao rubbed his sister's head. After Xiao Bei left happily, Wang Wan looked at the map carefully. "There's a lot of resistance if we fly there. The cold current of Siberia is blowing in this direction. It's too cold to fly. What's there to be afraid of if it's cold? Prepare more warm supplies. There are many mines there and large grasslands. I plan to raise tens of millions of cows and sheep there, the kind that doesn't need artificial chemical feed. If I don't deal with the Turks, I'll always feel like there's a thorn in my heart. Agent K is really too annoying. Seeing that the great Tang's national strength is getting stronger day by day, why can't he just quickly submit? Why does he have to play tricks and run north? Won't he have a conflict with the locals? Oh, there are very few locals. That's enough to freeze them to death." According to our calculations at that time, the place they're hiding in is 10 degrees colder than the winter they were in before. This is not a matter of 20 degrees or 30 degrees above zero. They'll definitely find a way to come back and block them. We'll take advantage of their low morale to take them down in one fell swoop. Zhang Xiaobao used his hand to draw a rough area on the map. He estimated that the Turks would run to that place to survive the winter. Wang Wan looked carefully. "Then how many people are you going to bring?" "We only brought 2 people when we came. I'll bring 400 people. 50 people from the Children's Regiment and 350 people to protect Xiao Bei and the others on the periphery. Now, I'll send a message to Jili Province and ask them to send some of the hot air balloons over and bring all the supplies." Early the next morning, Zhang Xiaobao set off with his brothers and sisters. The hot air balloons from Jili Province had not been sent over yet. Now they had to walk. Xiao Bei also had a gun in her hand. The gun was very weak, and its effective range was only 10 meters. This was to let her familiarize herself with it. On the third day after Zhang Xiaobao and the others set off, a fleet suddenly appeared in Jili province, or more accurately, in the outer seas of Silla. The people on the ship looked travel-worn. One of them was holding something like a stick in his hand. There were grains of food growing on it. This person took a bite from time to time. Chapter 856. When the hot air balloon of the tour group was ready to take off, the radio station, on Zhang Xiaobao's back started beeping. Wang Wan translated the content as fast as she could and looked at Zhang Xiaobao with surprise in her eyes. They're back. The people who went to North America are finally back. We can eat proper Sichuan-style hot pot in the future. We can also make scrambled eggs with tomatoes for Xiaobei and the others. And my cigarettes, roasted sweet potatoes, and... The first thing that came to Zhang Xiaobao's mind was to eat. Wang Wan nodded vigorously. She also knew the value of the things that the team brought back. They would add many kinds of dishes to the tables of the people of Tang, especially potatoes, which could be preserved for a long time, just like cabbage. Chili was not only delicious, but also had certain medicinal properties. Touching Xiaobei's head, Wang Wan said to her, "Xiaobei, it's almost time to eat popcorn. There are also pancakes made of corn flour. Eat salted fish. People who go out will have a variety of dry food. What is corn? Is it more delicious than rice?" Xiaobei stuck out her tongue and licked her lips. "It's corn. Anyway, there are many names. Can be cooked as snacks. Order, stop the trip and ask Shui Yun to send some seeds." Wang Wan didn't know how to explain it to Xiaobei. No matter how good it was not as direct as seeing the real thing, so she immediately issued the order. The people who had just returned to Jili State had a good sleep. According to the order, they packed a lot of strange seeds, tied them to Shui Yun's feet, and released them into the sky. While waiting, Zhang Xiaobao thought of Li Bai. Recently, Li Bai had written a lot of poems for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, hoping to be appreciated by them and get a satisfactory position. But the result was not very good. This time, before Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan set off, they arranged for him to be a 6th-rank official in Jili province. It was not a small position, but compared to his yearning for the capital, he still had many regrets. Now that Zhang Xiaobao knew that a new variety was coming in order to preserve it well, he did not plan to let Li Bai continue to be in charge of the warehouse. He was afraid that Li Bai would one day drink too much and kill the newly obtained seeds. If that happened, he would have no one to cry to. When he found Li Bai, who was also packing his luggage, Zhang Xiaobao said to him directly, "Young Master Li, there are 2 official positions for you to choose from. One is to be the county magistrate in Jian'an. I'll give you a mission. You are to lead the people of Jian and to plant a new kind of thing in the greenhouse. This greenhouse is a glass greenhouse. It's no longer simple." Li Bai listened carefully. When he heard Zhang Xiaobao talking about something new, he was a little curious, but he did not want to stay. How could a county with only 100 people be called a county? Even if they grew smallpox, it would be useless. Then he asked, "What about the second one?" "The second one is to enter the capital and become an official. You first go to Jili province and get some seeds there. When you return to the capital, you take them directly to the Sinong temple and let people plant them. Your official position is also in the Sinong temple. Well, you can be a garden supervisor. What should we call it?" "Oh, let's call it Shirlai Garden. What do you think?" Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of a new name and a new department, so he asked Li Bai. Li Bai did a little calculation and knew that the new official position was a 6th-rank official with some real power. He was also an official in the capital. He had not considered whether this official position was what he wanted, but he had a new understanding of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's abilities. From Zhang Xiaobao's words, he knew that the Sinong temple did not have a Shirlai garden yet. Zhang Xiaobao was going to make one. He looked so confident, as if the Sinong temple would do whatever he said. He could give him a 6th-rank official as he said so. Feeling Zhang Xiaobao's power, Li Bai temporarily believed that Zhang Xiaobao could successfully give him a garden in the Sinong temple. But after thinking about it, he found that no matter what kind of garden it was, his official position was a little small and he still had to farm. He could not help but show an expression of embarrassment. Zhang Xiaobao knew what Li Bai was thinking when he saw his expression. He felt very uncomfortable in his heart. He gave him a 6th-rank official and he was not satisfied. He gave him this because of his reputation as an immortal poet. Which one do you think is more suitable, childly? Zhang Xiaobao asked patiently. Can I change to another place? Li Bai was not willing to study farming in his heart. Then you can go to the Ministry of Rights and be a secretary. That's also a 6th-rank official. Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and gave him another official position. Li Bai lowered his head and thought for a while. The expression on his face was still the same as before. It seemed that the Ministry of Rights was not very good either. If the Ministry of Rights is not good enough, you can go to the Ministry of Revenue and be a manager. That's a 7th-rank official. Zhang Xiaobao was thinking of new things now. He wanted to get rid of Li Bai as soon as possible. The Ministry of Revenue was in charge of money. It was a very important department. The manager could see the minister and it was convenient to contact him. It was a good place. But the rank was not good. Li Bai gritted his teeth and asked, "Can I be a doctor? What do you think?" Zhang Xiaobao asked rhetorically. He knew that Li Bai wanted to be the physician of the left and right departments of the ministries, a 5th-level official who could attend the morning court. This was purely a joke. It was not that it could not be arranged, but how could Li Bai want to jump directly to an important 5th-level official position? Li Bai also felt that his request was too much, but he was full of expectations. After thinking about it, he said, "Then I'd better be a governor." This time, Li Bai was thinking about how to enter the capital and find a way to meet the officials in the capital. After getting familiar with them, he would ask them to recommend him. If they did not agree, he would use Zhang Xiaobao's suggestion and slowly look for an opportunity. Zhang Xiaobao specialized in studying people's psychology. How could he not know what Li Bai was thinking? Li Bai's eyes moved. Zhang Xiaobao knew what he was thinking, but he did not expose him. He would let him try and see who would dare to interfere with the position he arranged. Not to mention the officials of each department. Even if the position was a little bigger, it would not work. Zhang Xiaobao even got the position of the head of the secretariat. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaobao laughed in his heart. He took Li Bai into the room, spread out the paper, ground the ink and wrote on it, "Recommend Li Bai Li Tai Bai to be the Minister of Revenue. He will try for a year and wait for the examination next year. Xiaobao." A few simple words confirmed Li Bai's position. After the examination next year, the new position would be discussed. Li Bai thought that Zhang Xiaobao would praise him and write the reason for the recommendation. He did not expect that Zhang Xiaobao would write it so simply. Looking at the ink that had not yet dried, he asked worriedly, "Is this correct?" "Correct." Zhang Xiaobao put down the pen, picked up his seal and stamped it. This seal was also made by him. It had long become a habit. Li Longji was very stingy. He only cared about the appointment of officials. As for the other things such as the clothes, the seal and so on, he was not responsible for them. Who will I show this to when I arrive in the capital? No matter how Li Bai looked at it, he did not think that this letter could achieve his goal. It was written too simply. Zhang Xiaobao put down the pen and blew on the ink. "You can show it to anyone. As long as you enter the capital, take it out. Anyone who sees it will take you to see the person who arranged your position. The Ministry of Personnel is in charge of officials. If you want to go to the Ministry of Revenue, it will not be a problem. Or you can directly let His Majesty see it and arrange it for you. Oh, don't forget to help me bring some seeds when you pass by Jili province. I will write a letter to the Agriculture Temple and ask them to set up a special garden. Oh, when you arrive in the capital you can ask about Wang Wei. He is also good at writing poems." After saying that, Zhang Xiaobao casually folded the new letter and stuffed it into Li Bai's hand. That was it. Li Bai held the letter in his hand and watched Zhang Xiaobao go out. His face was blank. He always felt that Zhang Xiaobao had agreed too easily. He said that he would be an official in the capital, and he came too quickly. Logically speaking, if he wanted to be an official in the capital, he should not be like this. He looked at the letter in his hand again. He took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. He had to treat a dead horse as a live one. Whether it worked or not, he would give it a try after he arrived in the capital. He lowered his head and walked out with infinite sadness. When he looked up, he happened to see Zhang Xiaohai squatting there and writing on the snow. Li Bai found that Xiaohai was silent for a long time in the days they spent together. Compared to his sister Xiaobei, Xiaohai was much more silent. Li Bai curiously went over to see what Xiaohai was writing. When he saw what Xiaohai was writing, Li Bai was confused again. He could not understand at all because Xiaohai wrote, "Let the side length be x, the area be y, 2y equals z." What nonsense is this? What nonsense is this? Xiaohai did not notice Li Bai's arrival at all. He was still meditating and calculating. If it were Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, they would definitely shout that Li Bai was a genius. Unfortunately, Li Bai was not. I have to ask my sister how to eliminate Yuan. Xiaohai calculated for a while and found that he could not calculate. He frowned and muttered. "What are you writing?" Li Bai asked puzzledly. "You won't understand even if I tell you. Did my brother arrange an official position for you?" Xiaohai was very surprised and said a few more words. Li Bai nodded. "Then do a good job. Don't think that the position is small. I heard from my brother and sister that my father studied hard for more than 10 years and was the top scorer in the exam. In the end, he was just a small 7th grade official. If you dare to smear my brother's name, I will ask my sister to impeach you." Today, Little Hai spoke a lot, especially to outsiders. Li Bai was obviously in a bad mood. He was threatened by a child. What did he mean? Did he look down on him? Li Bai did not answer and turned to leave. He was really afraid that the 9 children would jointly impeach him. It was not a joke. There had been a precedent, so it was very accurate. Li Bai left with expectation in his heart. Under the protection of the 4 people, he went to the seaside to take a boat. When the time came, he would transfer to Jili province and take the seeds to the capital. Shui Yun also came, but she did not come alone. She also brought a companion, a big red eagle. One white and one red, flying in the sky, was very conspicuous. It was named Hong Luan. It was considered a fairy bird. In Zhang Ying's eyes, only a fairy bird was worthy of Shui Yun. The 2 eagles brought a package of things. Judging from the marks, they should have stopped to rest on the way. There was snow and ice at the bottom of the package, and there was also some soil and some bloodstains of some animal left behind when the 2 eagles ate. Zhang Xiaobao only looked at the package and didn't rush to open it. Instead, he touched Shui Yun's head and said, "Congratulations, you found a good one. I haven't seen a red eagle before. When you have children, you have to give them a heads up so they don't fall to their deaths." Shui Yun seemed to understand Zhang Xiaobao's words. She rubbed her head against Zhang Xiaobao's face. Her sharp mouth was frightening. Xiao Bei asked someone to kill a deer and send it to Shui Yun. She also said, "When you have babies, our children's group will catch insects for you. It's best to catch more than 100 of them. You have to work hard." After Shui Yun took Hong Luan to eat, Zhang Xiaobao opened the package. There were sweet potatoes and potatoes that had sprouted. It seemed that they were caused by the high temperature on the boat, so they dug them up and sent them to the greenhouse to be planted. In addition to these 2, there were also coffee beans and cocoa. Send them to Lu Zhou to be planted. Zhang Xiaobao picked out 2 kinds of things. He could not plant them in Jianan. Next were more than a dozen ears of corn, a lot of chilies, a pack of poorly made tobacco and seeds, half a plate of sunflower seeds, and washed tomato seeds. It seemed that the harvest was not small. As for the wood and other things, they did not send any samples. They were probably afraid that Shui Yun and the others would be tired. Wang Wan also looked at them and said in confusion, "I remember that some of the things are from South America. They didn't go there, did they?" "You remembered wrongly. Come, Xiao Bei, prepare the seasonings for the spicy hot pot. I'll make you a real spicy hot pot." Zhang Xiaobao replied to Wang Wan. Then he picked up the chilies and instructed Xiao Bei, who was looking at him curiously. Xiao Bei smacked his lips and shook his head. "Are we going to eat this? Let's keep it for seeds." Zhang Xiaobao pinched some chilies and put them in his mouth to taste. He stuck out his tongue and explained to Xiao Bei, "The inside is the seed. The skin outside doesn't count. You can eat it." "Oh, it's good to eat." Xiao Bei cheered and hurriedly ran to make the arrangements. Zhang Xiaobao took the opportunity to call the people in the county and the people who stayed behind. He and Wang Wan complimented each other by introducing the planting methods of several crops. They could not wait until next year to manage the Tujue. As for the future plan, they had to wait until the local people had planted the crops. Very soon, Xiao Bei finished preparing everything. All the seasonings and things to be boiled were brought over. The only thing missing was the chilies. With real chilies, there was no need for substitutes. Zhang Xiaobao put a lot of chilies in a lattice and then went to fry chili oil, together with the pepper oil and sesame paste. He waited for the water to boil before eating. After Xiao Bei did his best to blow on the fire, the water finally boiled. Before they could eat, the smell of chilies entered their noses. "Ah, so spicy." Xiao Bei sneezed and said with red eyes. The others who smelled the smell also nodded. They originally thought that scallions, ginger, garlic, and chilies were spicy enough. Today they finally saw what spiciness was. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan swallowed their saliva at the same time. Only the two of them knew the deliciousness of chilies. Zhang Xiaobao stuffed a handful of tofu skins into the lattice and boiled them vigorously. When the tofu skins were soft, he took them out and distributed them to his 9 younger siblings. Then he poured some chili oil and pepper oil on top. "Eat. I'll make boiled meat slices and boiled fish for all of you in the future." Xiao Bei nodded his head vigorously twice and moved his nose closer to smell. The smell of chili oil and sesame oil mixed together. Before eating, he already felt that it was fragrant. He took a deep breath and prepared himself for the spiciness. Then, he carefully picked up a stick of tofu skins and put it into his mouth. In less than 2 seconds, Xiao Bei's eyes suddenly widened and his hands stopped moving. After another 2 seconds, Xiao Bei took off the stick and chewed it vigorously. There was obvious sweat on his forehead. Even so, his mouth did not stop moving. When he swallowed the stick, he opened his mouth and exhaled. He said in a muffled voice, "It's so spicy. I want that soup. Give me some of the soup. So comfortable. So warm." "You still want to drink soup when it's spicy?" Xiao Yuan had not eaten all this time. He was obviously frightened by Xiao Bei's reaction. "What do you know? I want to eat it more and more. If you don't cooperate with me in the future, I'll pour chili water on you and let you know what's good for you." Xiao Bei suddenly thought of a good idea. Zhang Xiaobao was stunned. He looked at Wang Wan and said, "It seems that our Xiao Bei is really talented. He knows how to pour chili water. I haven't tried pouring this thing into my nose to see what it feels like." "It can treat colds," Wang Wan said. Xiao Yuan watched Xiao Bei slurp and eat at the same time. He finally could not help but try it. In the end, he became like Xiao Bei. The more spicy it was, the more he wanted to eat it. The others also came to taste it, including the people in the county. All of them felt that this thing was magical. Seeing that they were almost done eating, Zhang Xiaobao stopped his brother and sister and gave each of them a big bowl of mung bean porridge. He was afraid that the spiciness would affect their digestive systems. "It's a pity that we don't have green pepper seeds," Zhang Xiaobao said regretfully. That was cultivated later. When grafted with tomatoes, it will produce persimmon peppers. When more tomatoes grow, they can be made into ketchup. There will be one more fish in tomato sauce in the can. Pack up and prepare to set off. Seeing that the thing she was looking forward to had arrived, Wang Wan's thoughts returned to the Turks. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Okay, I'll arrange it right away. Roast an ear of corn for them to try. The fleet brought back a lot. Next year we'll release it in our restaurant first and see the effect. Is there a need to see? As long as it's not popularized, new things will definitely become luxury goods. Smoking is harmful to health. You're not allowed to smoke too much even if you have cigarettes. Wang Wan seemed to be very disgusted by other people smoking. I'm planning to make cigars, not cigarettes or fertilizer. Oh, there's no such good fertilizer now. I've decided. In order to help the people of Xinlua become rich, not only will I put all kinds of smelting plants in Xinlua, but I'll also plant cigarettes in their fertile land. Before they're dried, they'll look like cabbages. They'll look green and pleasing. Zhang Xiaobao's expression became one of bemoaning the state of the universe and pitying the fate of mankind. It was so sacred that no one could violate it. After Xiaobei and the others tasted the corn and decided to eat corn all day next year, the tour group finally slowly rose into the sky and headed to a distant place for sightseeing. Before Li Bai arrived at Jili Province, Jili Province had already sent a fast ship to Dengzhou. Large bags of things were sent by Dengzhou on fast horses to the capital. The speed was only slightly slower than the speed of the 800 Li urgent report. As Zhang Xiaobao's tour group continued to float in the sky, bags of goods were sent to Savant's restaurant. The chefs in Savant's restaurant began to make food according to the method written in the letter that came with the packages. There were actually only two kinds of food that could be made: chili peppers and corn. Some corn was still a little green, and some had already turned golden. It was probably not easy to preserve them. After the morning court session ended the next day, when Li Longji was preparing to have lunch, the people from Savant's restaurant arrived outside the palace. After a series of checks, the food boxes finally appeared on the dining table in front of Li Longji. Li Longji's meals had long changed. There was no need for so many things to look at. More than 10 dishes per meal was already extravagant enough in his opinion. He would only show the proper extravagance when he ate with the envoys from Japan, Xian Luo, and other countries. Today, the imperial kitchen had yet to serve the food. When Li Longji heard that there was food coming from Savant's restaurant, he immediately ordered the imperial kitchen to stop cooking and ordered someone to open the food boxes. He saw that there were many small yellow steamed buns inside. They looked quite pleasing to the eye and smelled a special fragrance. He did not know what it was. When the other food box was opened, there was a charcoal fire heating it. There were many pieces of cooked meat, bean sprouts, and other supplementary ingredients. When he smelled it again, he almost cried. This is... For the first time, Li Longji felt that he was ignorant and inexperienced. He had never seen such things before. According to the procedure, he first used a silver needle to test if there was any commonly used poison, such as arsenic. He then let the little eunuch taste it again. When the golden steamed bun was about to turn cold, the little eunuch was still alive and well. Only then did Gao Lishir pick up a steamed bun, pinch it into small pieces, and put it into his mouth to chew. Your Majesty, it's delicious. This subject has never eaten anything with such taste. As he spoke, Gao Lishir went to eat the boiled meat slices again. After sticking out his tongue because of the spiciness, he continued to nod at Li Longji. Li Longji couldn't wait any longer. He was already used to the food sent by Savant's restaurant and Joy House. Similarly, every time he watched others go through the procedures, he would think of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. If the two of them personally came to cook for him, he wouldn't have to wait for the food to turn cold before he could eat it. Seeing Gao Lishir nod, Li Longji couldn't wait to pick up a steamed bun. He didn't care about the dignity that an emperor should have and opened his mouth to take a big bite. When the golden steamed bun entered his mouth, he immediately felt a chewy feeling, followed by a unique fragrance. When he picked up another piece of meat, the spicy taste instantly filled his mouth. He quickly took another bite of the steamed bun and exhaled. He squinted his eyes and praised, "It's delicious. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are so considerate. Does Li Shi know what this is?" Gao Lishi shook his head. "This subject doesn't know. I'll write a letter to ask." Go quickly." Li Longji seemed to be very anxious. Gao Lishi put down his chopsticks and went to write the letter. During this time, Li Longji had already opened his mouth and started to eat vigorously. When Gao Lishi finished writing the letter and sent it back to Jili province with a pigeon, he saw that there were only a few bean sprouts and vegetable leaves left in the big bowl with the boiled meat slices. There were only 3 small steamed buns left. The emperor was sitting upright with his stomach puffed out. His head was tilted backwards. Looking at the rise and fall of his chest, it was obvious that he was gasping for air. "Luo Bin, quickly go to the medicinal kitchen and get the Dashan Cha pill." "Your Majesty, you are, Sai." Gao Lishi looked very helpless. Li Longji touched his stomach with his hand. "Lishi, I didn't eat them all. I left some for you." Chapter 857. As a rare grain, Li Longji was only lucky enough to taste one meal before he sent someone to the savant's restaurant to ask about it. He was told that he could only eat one meal every 3 days, and this was because of his special status. Li Longji could only put the matter of the cornbread aside for the time being, and look forward to the arrival of every 3 days. He once again devoted his energy to various aspects of Great Tang. According to Wang Wan, the current Li Longji should be in a situation where he rejoiced in grandiose achievements. A bucket of millet only cost a few copper coins, and under the fawning of many officials, Great Tang was flourishing. But now Li Longji had no intention of relaxing. The Zhang family and the Wang family worked together with other merchants to open businesses all over Great Tang. Even the most remote places did not lack this kind of business cooperation. In addition to doing business, these shops were also in charge of collecting information, such as the living conditions of the people in a certain place and the bad evaluation of the officials in that place. These information were then sent to the capital to let Li Longji understand that his country was still far from his ideal. Zhang Xiaobao even took the opportunity to deceive Li Longji, telling him how wealthy that place was. In the winter, every family had fruits, and all they wanted to eat was vegetables. They were already sick of meat. Every family had a type of carriage that was dozens or even hundreds of times faster than a carriage. It only took 2 days to travel from the capital to Luzhou. Moreover, everyone had a very small radio that they could carry in their pocket at any time. They could take it out at any time to greet their family in Tubo at the Blackwater Commander-in-Chief's manor. In terms of medical treatment, the Virtuous Academy could not compare. When hunting in the mountains, one's ears would not be eaten by wolves. Was fine. As long as one hid and did not let the wolves bite off one's head, one could use the small radio to inform a specialized department. There would be something that was hundreds of times faster than gliders flying over to save the person. Then, just like farming, one could grow another ear and install it. If there were no telegrams and steam engines, Li Longji would definitely not believe it. But now he had no choice but to believe it. Hence, after making a comparison, Li Longji felt that the people of Great Tang did not have a good life. At the very least, he did not have a good life. He could not compare to the ordinary people of that place. Even if he lost an ear, he could not grow another one. This was the difference. Looking at the intelligence reports on the various regions of the Great Tang, he found that there were many places where the people could not eat white flour and rice, and could only eat millet, let alone meat and eggs. Even in winter, one could not expect to see fresh cucumbers. We still have to work hard. Li Longji closed the document about Hadong Dao, picked up a small metal box on the desk, and dripped 2 drops of eye drops mixed with ice shards into it, and said to himself. Gao Lishi, who was not far away, made a gesture to the young eunuch. After a while, the young eunuch came back with a tray. On the tray was a bowl with something inside. "Your Majesty, it's getting late. Drink some beef radish soup and rest early," Gao Lishir said as he placed the bowl in front of Li Longji. Li Longji raised his head and squinted his eyes to look at the light above his head. He then glanced at the clock on the wall. The hands were pointing to 11 o'clock. He nodded. "It's already midnight. Time really flies. Never mind, help me take a look at this small matter. I think it's better to find 2 more reliable people." Picking up the radish from the bowl, Li Longji stared at it. Radishes in winter are also small ginseng. I heard that Xiao Bao is planting ginseng in Jili State. How is it going? They planted it last year. They said that they will plant it for 5 years. By then, there will be more ginseng in the hospital. They also planted a lot of other herbs. Your Majesty, don't worry. They even planted pearls, not to mention ginseng. Oh, Xiao Bao sent a letter saying that Your Majesty had cornbread yesterday. While Gao Lishir was speaking, he took out a small toy from his sleeve. It was a funnel. He also took out some leaves that came with the cornbread and stuffed them into the funnel. He lit a match and took 2 deep breaths. He seemed to be much more spirited. Li Longji chewed the beef tendon that was deliberately put into the bowl and asked in a muffled voice, "What's the matter with the cornbread?" They said that in a few years' time they can use corn to feed livestock, especially cows. They want me to help choose a cow with more meat to be specially raised for meat in the future and save on other grains. It's also good for cows. Before the corn matures, they can chop the corn cob and the stalk together. I'm wondering if there should be a special area in every prefecture in Tang to be used to raise cows. Part of it is used for farming, part of it is used for meat, and part of it is used for milk production. Gao Lishir looked at the bowl on the table and replied. Li Longji suddenly understood. "Oh, understand now. I thought that corn was really precious. I didn't expect that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had people bring it back from elsewhere to be used as fodder. I heard from Xiao Bao that the people in that place, regardless of whether they are adults or children, can drink fresh milk every day. Many children in Tang can only drink soy milk. I don't believe that if others can do it, so can I." Gao Lishir nodded vigorously, expressing his support and trust. Xiao Bao sent a letter saying that he was going on a trip. He even left in a hot air balloon. Are there any changes in Xinlua? Li Longji was not sure where Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were going to travel. He was afraid that it would delay the deployment of Xinlua. I've heard the news. Xiao Bao ordered his family's business to transport all kinds of good goods to the border between Xinlua and Tang Dynasty, such as the clock hanging on the wall, pearl jewelry, cosmetics, beautiful clothes, and complete sets of glass products. He wants to do a big deal with Xinlua. What kind of deal? In exchange for charcoal, the price is very high. The price of charcoal of the same quality is 1.5 times that of Tang Dynasty. There is also the matter of opening a smelting plant in Xinlua. As Gao Lishir spoke, he wanted to point at the charcoal brazier to signal the emperor, but he suddenly stopped. There was no charcoal brazier here. They used heating, the kind that coiled around the ground. Li Longji also knew what Gao Lishir was thinking just now. He smiled in satisfaction. Technology must be developed. Otherwise, I would still be using candles to roast charcoal. It seems that Xiao Bao has gone to cheat people again. Take some time to ask if there are any new weapons in the weapons research department. Let me be happy, even if it's in the experimental stage. Yes, I'll contact him later. I thought of another thing that might make Your Majesty happy. Cuckoo said in a letter to her family that this year, Xiao Bao spent a lot of money to build a place to cultivate kunbu in Jili province. Xiao Bao called it kelp, which means that if nothing goes wrong this year, there will be a lot of kelp production. When the time comes, I'll let the people in Dengzhou learn to cultivate it. After the kelp is dried, it will be sent to all parts of Tang Dynasty and sold to the people at a low price. Can prevent the big neck disease. The two of them originally planned to extract something from the kunbu and put it in salt so that the people can eat salt. However, due to the lack of technology, they can only postpone it indefinitely. Gao Lishir did not know the extent of the weapons research, so he thought of something else to tell the emperor to make him happy. However, Li Longji did not look happy at all. That's right, we can't keep up with the technology. For Xiao Bao and Huan Huan to be able to think of this, it's probably because their master told them. That means that the technology of the other side has already reached that level. We're still far from it, we have to catch up. At the very least, we have to wait for the other side to have the strength to defend against them in case they attack. Li Longji clenched his fists and ate the food in the bowl as fast as he could. He followed Gao Lishir's instructions to wash up and get ready to sleep. Lu Zhou, in the forest northwest of the matchwood factory, a group of people was busy. Some were in charge of recording and some were operating. When everything was ready, a loud noise rang out. The people involved in the experiment smiled. It's done. Send the report to the young master and young miss. The picric acid is successfully developed. The trinitrotoluene is in the process of development. The new cannon is tested. The maximum range is 6 kilometers. The extraction of gasoline and diesel failed. We're working on a new method. The person who spoke was the craftsman who won the first place in the competition in the capital, Zhang Tianyu. After he was selected, he studied with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan for a while. He was the first to read Wang Wan's books. After that, he was sent to Lu Zhou to be in charge of the scientific and technological research. When the people in charge of the research of the new gunpowder heard his words, they subconsciously puffed out their chests. Although they had lost their freedom from the moment they joined the research team, their family's standard of living was not comparable to ordinary people. If it were not for Jiaru's research team, they might still be ordinary craftsmen who spent the rest of their lives in some county. Now they could at least wander around Lu Zhou, and they were escorted by many people. The ticking sound of telegrams rang out, all the way to Jili province. Unfortunately, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could not receive the news for the time being. At this time, Lu Zhou did not stop working at the sea with the arrival of winter. The number of ships coming in and out every day was still the same. Before Xinyuan Island was fully occupied and explored, the profit-seeking merchants began to move further away. For example, there was a group of small islands beside Xinyuan Island, as well as an island that was not smaller than Xinyuan Island that was connected to Xinyuan Island on the other side. Ordinary merchants would go there to scout for resources and find a way to get them on board. Then they would bring them back to Lu Zhou, pay a part of the taxes, and wait to make a fortune. Sun Miao was also the captain of a fleet in Jiangnan. His family was quite well-to-do, and he was a high scholar. Unfortunately, he had failed several imperial examinations in a row. After the new year, he gave up on the idea of continuing to work in the capital and was ready to find another way to develop. When he was on Newgate Island, he participated in the first advance party formed by merchants and made a lot of money. He also met the owner of another merchant and was attracted to the owner's daughter. After a few contacts, they gradually became close. In the end, he secretly married her and made her his co-wife. He had 2 wives and 3 concubines at home, and his son and daughter were running around everywhere. His older son and daughter had already gone to school and were doing well in their studies. Logically speaking, he should be content with what he had. However, his neighbor's 22-year-old son came to the capital this spring to take the imperial examinations and stayed in the capital to become an official. As a result, his neighbor's status was obviously much higher than his own. In May, he renovated his house according to the standards of a 6th-grade official. His father complained more than once in his letter that they were inferior to each other. Sun Miao also felt sullen. When he was a high scholar, his status was higher than his neighbor's. Now that he had no chance, he could only pin his hopes on his son. However, his son was too young. How could he take the imperial examinations at the age of 12? He didn't even have the status of a high scholar. Unless his son suddenly became Zhang Xiaobao and his daughter became Wang Wan, even if everything went well, he would have to wait for 10 years. He couldn't let his neighbor suppress him for 10 years. Who knew if his son would become a third-grade official after 10 years? Sun Miao was very worried about this. Just as he was looking for an opportunity, it suddenly appeared in front of him. There were quite a few tribes on another large island not far from Xinyuan Island. The last time he went there, he saw a leader of a large tribe, or rather a tribal chief. Anyway, he was just a person. He had diligently learned the language of the Tang Empire and was able to carry out simple conversations. When they were talking about the exchange of goods, the leader mentioned that he wanted to meet the Emperor of Tang. It was not an ordinary worship. Perhaps, the leader could not imagine how majestic the Emperor of Tang was. The speaker had a heart, and the listener had a heart. Sun Miao's heart came to him. Since he could not pass the imperial examinations, he could become an official through other means. No one in his family could be an official, so why couldn't he make a great contribution? With this idea in mind, Sun Miao, who came back, began to contact people. He did not foolishly go to Lu Zhou's provincial governor, nor did he write a letter to the capital. Although he was qualified to send a letter to the capital as a high scholar, he knew it was useless. The emperor could not see it at all. After thinking for 2 days, he found Lu Zhou's trade alliance. First, the alliance was controlled by the Zhang family and the Wang family. If he wanted to let the emperor know, the emperor would definitely know. Second, the Zhang family and the Wang family would not steal his credit. The two families were so famous that they did not care about the merit of a tribe leader on an island. Most importantly, the Zhang family and the Wang family were very amiable. Sun Miao's contact was successful. The person in charge of Lu Zhou's affairs agreed immediately. As long as Sun Miao was confident that he could get the leader of the tribe to the capital and bring a lot of local specialties as tribute, Lu Zhou's people would be responsible for the protection work along the way and contact matters after the arrival. Before winter came, Sun Miao brought the people arranged by Lu Zhou to the island and found the leader of the tribe, Shan Tusher. This name was given by the leader himself. At first, he said that he wanted to follow the emperor's surname, Li. Later he was dissuaded. If the surname was not passed down by the ancestors, it could not be taken casually. It had to be given by the emperor, especially by people who did not belong to Tang. When Shan Tusher learned that he could meet the emperor of Tang, he was very excited. He asked people to prepare many things that he thought were good and wanted to go with Sun Miao. Chapter 858. The cries gradually faded away. Sun Miao leaned against a tree with lingering fear. He turned his head to look at Shan Tusher, who was also in a sorry state, and asked, "Can you escape?" Because of the long sunlight and the high temperature, Shan Tusher appeared very dark and was much shorter than Sun Miao. He blinked his large eyes and said to Sun Miao, "I don't know. I wasn't prepared." They suddenly attacked. Sun Miao didn't have time to be surprised by Shan Tusher's ability to learn languages. He hesitantly reached into his clothes and asked, "Why were you chased?" They were afraid that in the future, the good things of the Tang Empire will only be exchanged with my territory. If they kill me, it won't happen. At least that's what they think. Don't worry, the 2 followers you brought will be fine. They are protected by my people. The one they want to kill is me. Shan Tusher looked around and saw that there were a few of his subordinates hiding not far from the 2 of them and keeping watch. Only then did he feel slightly relieved and comforted Sun Miao. Sun Miao also looked around and found that there were too few of Shan Tusher's people. There were less than 100 people altogether. The 2 tribes had rushed over while howling. There were at least 300 people. 3 against 1. With the same living habits and the same familiarity with the terrain, it was too difficult to win. Shan Tusher saw that the person who could make him pay a visit to the emperor of the Tang Empire didn't say anything and was a little depressed. "The gift I planned to give your emperor is gone. This place is still very far from the coast. If there is no other way, I will protect you and then you can find someone to fight back and avenge me." As long as my people are still alive and you are still willing to trade with them, I will be very happy. Don't let the people from the other 2 tribes find you." Sun Miao curled his lips. "They are dreaming. Stopping you from coming to the Tang Empire is a provocation to the Tang Empire. I will destroy them. It is less than 10 li from the coast, not far." As he spoke, Sun Miao took out a cylindrical object from his bosom. Shan Tushar really didn't know how strong the Tang Empire was. He had tried hard to imagine that the Tang Emperor's subordinates could be more than his and the surrounding tribes combined. However, he didn't think that he would be able to gain an advantage. Besides, the Tang Empire was so far away that not many people could come. At this moment, seeing the thing that Sun Miao took out, he curiously moved his face closer. "This thing can kill people. This thing can find people." Sun Miao took out another box of matches and looked up at the sky, searching for a place where the leaves were sparse. "Who are you?" "Naturally, it's to protect the lives of the great Tang's merchants. Didn't I pay such a high tax precisely for this day?" Just as he finished speaking, Sun Miao struck the match in his hand and dug the bottom of the cylindrical object into the ground. He carefully ignited the twists on the top and pulled up the rocks to hide behind him. His heart was beating like a drum. Although the Luzhou's Chamber of Commerce had indicated on the map that there were rescuers on the new island, they did not provide the exact number of rescuers, nor did they mention the equipment of these rescuers. If the signal was sent out and the rescuers were still foolishly armed with ordinary knives and arrows, not only would they not be able to escape, but they would also bring harm to Luzhou's elite hurricane battalion. "I hope they are armed with pistols." While Sun Miao was lost in his thoughts, the signal fireworks exploded in the sky with a loud bang. The loud noise startled Shan Tushar and his men. They lay on the ground and did not dare to move. After a while, Shan Tushar raised his head and asked in surprise, "Are there any more powerful weapons? I'm sure they won't be weak." Sun Miao shook his head and stood up, looking around vigilantly. The noise just now was not small, and the fireworks were high enough. He was afraid that the people from the 2 tribes would discover their location and rush over. "Yeah, I don't think so. Things that can make such a loud noise are very rare." Shan Tushar helped Sun Miao to figure out the problem. After a few breaths of regret, he also remembered what Sun Miao was worried about just now. He shouted a few words to his men that Sun Miao did not understand. The surrounding people who were protecting them gathered around and bent their backs, ready to fight at any time. Sure enough, it did not take long before the people from the 2 tribes who were lured away by Sun Miao and his men arrived. After a few of them were shot by Shan Tushar's men with simple bows and arrows, they cried out in pain. "Let's go, they are coming." Shan Tushar grabbed Sun Miao's arm and ran in another direction. Sun Miao looked hesitant. He wanted to run, but he was worried that the people from the hurricane camp would not be able to find him. If he did not run, he was afraid that they would find his corpse. Being pulled by Shan Tushar, the team moved towards the seaside. Gradually, more and more howling sounds came from the surroundings. It seemed that the people from the 2 tribes were gathering and surrounding this place. Seeing this situation, Shan Tushar said to Sun Miao in a very loyal manner, "You run, I will take people to stop them. Remember to take revenge for me." "Oh no, how come there is another group of people from the Hulu tribe? They have allied with another tribe." As soon as Shan Tushar finished speaking, Sun Miao saw that the people chasing after him were more energetic than the ones before. Perhaps it was because they were more energetic. The people who were in charge of stopping the people behind him screamed from time to time. Sun Miao saw with his own eyes that a person who was less than 5 feet away from him was shot in the neck by a wooden arrow. The person who did not die immediately covered the place where he was shot with both hands and made a sound in his throat. With a swoosh, an arrow flew past Sun Miao's face. He could feel the wind as the arrow flew past him and pierced into Shan Tushar's thigh. "Run! Take revenge for me!" The injured Shan Tushar seemed to know that he was going to die, so he could not keep running. He stared at Sun Miao and shouted. The screams of countless people were still echoing in Sun Miao's ears. Sun Miao trembled from head to toe. He did not know whether it was because of fear or excitement. He looked around blankly. Suddenly, he realized that everything around him had slowed down. He did not know where he got the strength, but he lowered his body, picked up Shantusher and started running. As he ran, he cut his calf on the stubble of a plant. A cut immediately appeared on his skin, but he did not feel any pain. He only felt a chill and an itch there. The people in charge of protecting him finally made contact with the enemies. All kinds of shouts entered Sun Miao's ears. He had no time to distinguish which side was making the shouts. Shantusher, who was being carried by Sun Miao, saw the people of the Hulu tribe gradually approaching from behind. A look of despair appeared on his face. The person closest to him was less than 5 steps away. He had already raised the big stick in his hand and was about to smash Sun Miao in the next moment. Thud! A sound suddenly rang out from nowhere. Shantusher could only watch as a hole suddenly appeared in the head of the person chasing after him. His head was tilted back, but his body was still moving forward. With a thump, he landed right in front of Shantusher. The club in his hand flew out diagonally, and he could no longer hit his own head. Shantusher had no idea what was going on. While he was still in a daze, he found himself being thrown to the ground by Aeon. The pain made him shiver. He turned his head to look at Aeon. Just as he was about to ask if Aeon had run out of strength, he heard the same noise he had heard earlier. Thud, 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 thud. Hearing this sound, Sun Miao chuckled and gasped for breath. He lay there and looked up at the sky. Oh my God, they're finally here. Tusher, we can live. Who's here? Shantusher sat up and found a strange scene in front of him. The people of the Hulu tribe were falling one after another. He did not know who killed them and he did not know what weapon was so powerful. However, he could guess that it had something to do with Sun Miao. Sun Miao sat up as well. He squeezed the wound on his calf with his hand and snorted. Naturally, it's the Great Tang's Hurricane Battalion. How dare they attack the people of Great Tang? Let's see how many people they have to kill. Hurricane Battalion. Where else? Wherever the sound comes from. I didn't pay my taxes in vain. As long as it's a place marked on Lu Zhou's map and is protected by military forces, rescue will arrive in half an hour at most. Sun Miao, who knew he was safe, said with satisfaction. At the same time, he felt a sense of fatigue. Shantusher looked left and right, searching according to the sounds. Suddenly he shouted excitedly. I see it. See it. On the trees 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 people. 4. Sun Miao only has 4 people. Sun Miao was taken aback. He looked up and found that there were 4 people shooting on 4 trees. The little hope that had just risen in his heart was extinguished again. How many bullets could 4 people carry? There were at least 500 people in the 3 tribes. What should he do when he ran out of bullets? Before he could figure it out, the howling around him gradually faded away. Judging from the sounds, it seemed that they were retreating. After waiting for a while, he heard no more sounds. Sun Miao struggled to his feet, cupped his fist at the 4 people who had just climbed down from the trees and said, Thank you. I'm Sun Miao, the independent merchant of Lu Zhou's ocean. I'll reward you handsomely when I get back. Gentlemen, what should we do now? 2nd Battalion, 3rd Platoon, 1st Squad, 2nd Squad, 2nd Squad, retreat with us to the seaside. A man with a big bag on his back stepped forward and saluted Sun Miao. His voice was short and strong, giving people a sense of security. All right, sorry to trouble you. Tusher, can you still walk? Hurry up, don't be surrounded again. Otherwise we'll be finished. Sun Miao didn't have much time to exchange pleasantries. He pulled Shantusher, and under the protection of 4 people, they tried their best to evacuate towards the seaside. Shantusher called out to his frightened subordinates. Those who could still move carried the wounded and followed along. Among the 4 people of the Hurricane Battalion, one was leading the way quickly, while the other was guarding the enemies on both sides. Gunshots kept ringing out. Sean Tusher's eyes were fixed on the man beside him, who should be the leader of the 4 people. To be exact, his eyes were fixed on that pipe. Although he didn't know what that pipe was called, he knew that it was a very powerful weapon. He was very envious. If each person in his tribe had one, then it seemed that the Emperor of Tang was indeed awe-inspiring. As the enemies in front and on both sides died one after another, the people of the 3 tribes began to give up on the 3 sides and gathered behind Sun Miao, trying to find a suitable opportunity to kill these people. When they passed by a small hill, the leader of the Hurricane Battalion took down the bag on his back, put it on the ground and began to move it, making beep 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 sounds. Sean Tusher was anxious and confused. He didn't understand why they didn't leave at the crucial moment. It was also the first time Sun Miao saw this strange thing. After the beep sound stopped, he asked, "A new weapon?" "No, I'm calling for artillery support." The leader carried the thing again and began to move forward. At this time, on the sea 1 kilometer away from the newly discovered island, 4 ships floating there received the signal at the same time. "Command everyone, get ready. Attack the area between the east and the south of the 434 high ground on the second island." After receiving the signal, the captain of the flagship issued the attack order. The 4 ships immediately adjusted their position. The moment the position was confirmed, along with the command to fire, the rumbling sound also followed. In the team that was still moving in the forest, Sean Tusher and the others didn't understand what was called for artillery support, but Sun Miao understood. His eyes widened as he nervously asked, "Artillery support? Artillery ship. Won't it hit us? If you aim accurately, you won't be able to hit us. Hurry up." The leader of the Hurricane Battalion answered straightforwardly, "Tusher, hurry up and run. Tell your people to follow. That thing doesn't have eyes." Sun Miao didn't have the mood to complain about why they needed to fire artillery. He urged Sean Tusher and walked faster while holding one of his arms. Sean Tusher, who still didn't know what was going on, could only mechanically follow Sun Miao's words. The less than 20 people under him gritted their teeth and rushed forward. Before Sean Tushy could ponder for a long time, a whooshing sound came from the sky. Before he could raise his head to look, he heard a rumbling sound coming from behind him. He turned around and saw that there were clouds of smoke and flames about 400 steps behind him. The trees flew into the sky, and the soil also danced in the sky. There was also something that looked like a human body flying up. "What is this?" Sean Tusher asked Sun Miao. Sun Miao couldn't hear what he was shouting at, but he guessed from the shape of Sean Tusher's mouth. He put his mouth close to Sean Tusher's ear and shouted, "This is artillery support. If it falls on us, we will all die." Where did it hit? I didn't see it." Sean Tusher also shouted. "On the sea. Hurry up and don't stop. You can't know where it will land." Sun Miao shouted at the top of his voice and then stopped talking. He started to jog with Sean Tusher. Sean Tusher's ears were buzzing, but he also stopped talking. He limped along with Sun Miao. His face was pale, and the shock in his heart had reached an extreme level. Now he had a new understanding of the Tang Empire. He didn't know what artillery support was, but he knew that it could hit here from very far away. And it was so powerful that even the trees were blown into the sky. He really had to see the emperor of the Tang Empire. He was too powerful. How could he have such a weapon? If each of his tribesmen had one. Sun Miao did not know how childish Sean Tusher's thoughts were. At this moment, his heart was filled with pride. This was his Tang Empire, and they were providing artillery support for a merchant like him. Based on the noise and the flying dust, he could guess that this must be the attack method of Lu Zhou's artillery battalion called saturation attack. The money spent on this artillery attack was probably equivalent to half of his family's wealth. The tax he paid was really insignificant. It was just like the promise Lu Zhou had written in the Chamber of Commerce. For the safety of the Tang Empire, we will do our best. After about 100 breaths of time, the sound that had been incessant just now suddenly stopped. Shan Tu-Shi was finally released from some kind of pressure. Gasping for breath, he looked back and could no longer see the figure that had been tailing him. After advancing for about 2 miles, they were closer to the seaside. Then, everyone's ears gradually recovered. Shan Tu-Shi looked at Sun Miao respectfully. He shouted, "Sun Miao, are you very noble in the Tang Empire? You are only slightly inferior to the Emperor of the Tang Empire." Sun Miao was first startled by Shan Tu-Shi's habitual shout, then he was frightened by the words that came out of Shan Tu-Shi's mouth. He looked nervously at the 4 people of the Hurricane Battalion. When he saw no reaction from them, he shook his head vigorously. "I'm nothing in the Tang Empire. I dare not be compared with His Majesty." Then, without waiting for Shan Tu-Shi to ask any more questions, he added, "That bombardment just now could have bought several hundred of the goods I brought over. They saved me only because I'm a Tang citizen." Shan Tu-Shi clearly couldn't understand why the great Tang would spend so much money on a single person. He was well aware that the goods Sun Miao had brought over would require his tribe to work for several years to get their hands on them. How much money would several hundred of them cost? "Sun Miao, is it because there are not many people in the Tang Empire?" This was the only reason Shan Tu-Shi could think of. "More than all the trees around your tribe put together," Sun Miao shouted. "Is it worth it to spend so much money for you? You won't understand even if I tell you. This is not for me, but for the dignity of all Tang people. If you kill one of my people, I'll slaughter one of your villages. Oh, I mean one of your tribes. We won't stop until one of us is dead. That's why no one dares to offend the Tang Empire," Sun Miao shouted at Shan Tu-Shi heroically. Shan Tu-Shi thought carefully and nodded. "Well, the Tang Empire is really good. You have to work hard for the Tang Empire. Course, if the Tang Empire doesn't have money for war, I'm willing to donate all my property. You'll know how big the Tang Empire is when we meet Lu Zhou," Sun Miao said matter-of-factly. The people of the Hurricane Battalion did not care about what Sun Miao said. The 3 people who had split up earlier went to scout again. After a while, they came back and nodded at the squad leader. The squad leader looked at another mountain in front of him, took the bag to the front again, and pressed the button. "Do they still need artillery support?" Sun Miao asked when the sound stopped. "No, they haven't given up yet. Many people have gathered and surrounded us. Let's go to the mountain in front to block them first. The artillery in the sea can't fire anymore. Otherwise it will hit us easily." The squad leader put away the bag and answered. Sun Miao looked at the squad leader blankly. "Then you." "I'm calling for air support." The squad leader still had the same calm expression. Sun Miao nodded and said nothing. He knew that for him, the Tang Empire had basically taken out all the advanced weapons. Shan Tu-Shi had no time to wonder why the beeping sound could mobilize the weapons from so far away. He turned his head and asked Sun Miao, "What kind of support is air support?" "It's people flying over from the sky. You'll know when the time comes. Hurry, go to the mountain and hold on until they arrive." Sun Miao looked around vigilantly but did not see anyone. However, he believed that the people of the Hurricane Battalion would not lie to him. They ran to the small mountain. The 4 people of the Hurricane Battalion were looking back and forth with binoculars. When they saw Sun Miao's blank look, they handed the binoculars to him. "Here, take a look. Don't break it." I know. Oh, they're really surrounding us. How did they find us?" Sun Miao took the binoculars and saw many people at the foot of the mountain. "Me see." Shan Tu-Shi grabbed the binoculars and imitated Sun Miao's look. When he saw it, he was surprised again. This thing was very magical. It could actually make the distant scenery closer. At the same time, he also saw people from other tribes who were not willing to give up. Seeing those people gradually approaching, When the 4 people of the Hurricane Battalion aimed at them and were ready to shoot at a certain distance, those people suddenly stopped. They seemed to be afraid, but also seemed to be waiting. If they did not come, the people of the Hurricane Battalion would not easily waste their bullets. The 2 sides confronted each other at the top and the foot of the mountain. Squad leader, are they waiting for their people to come up from other places and then rush in? Sun Miao thought of a possibility. The people in front were responsible for attracting the attention while the people in other places were responsible for sneak attacks. The squad leader answered. Almost, but they still have to wait. Time passed slowly while waiting. When Shan Tusher and the others felt more and more pressure, one of his men pointed to the sky and shouted before the enemy could see the sneak attack. Shan Tusher followed his subordinate's gaze and saw a flock of large birds in the sky. When he got closer, he saw that they weren't large birds. Instead, there were 2 people with a large pair of wings flying in the sky. Chapter 859. If it wasn't for the pain in his leg, Shan Tusher would have thought that he was dreaming. Before he met the Tang people, he thought that he was the leader of a tribe and should be a knowledgeable person. Anything that the people in the tribe found should be sent to him first. But after he met Sun Miao, he realized that he was the toad in the well that Sun Miao was talking about. He was very pitiful. If it wasn't for the danger today, he believed that Sun Miao would never light up that life-saving thing. He also wouldn't know that there were many things that he had never heard of before. Sun Miao, how do you fly up? Shan Tusher touched Sun Miao and asked in a low voice. Jump down from the mast or the lookout tower. 2 people use gliders. One person is in charge of adjusting the direction while the other is in charge of attacking. You need to have experience. Sun Miao explained. He was about to say that it required wind, but he was afraid that he would reveal the secret, so he quickly changed his words. He knew that gliders were very important on the sea. The wind was strong on the sea. When attacking in the air, the enemy's ships were like decorations. Not to mention the ability to fight back, they couldn't even find the ability to defend. Shan Tusher didn't understand, so he just listened to Sun Miao. He had seen mast and lookout towers before. They were the places where the sails of ships were raised, and the place where one could observe from a high place. He looked at the trees on the mountain and asked with longing, Can I learn? I don't care. I'm only in charge of doing business. I don't dare to interfere in fighting. Sun Miao knew that Shan Tusher thought too highly of him. In fact, his status was very low. He was only a Juran. At this time, the reinforcements from the air had already begun to hover in the sky with their gliders. There were not many of them. A total of 80 gliders were sent out from the 4 ships that were docked at sea. The person in charge of attacking was equipped with a rifle that could fire continuously and a few grenades. After circling in the sky twice to determine which side needed protection and which side needed to be attacked, they immediately launched the attack. 20 gliders landed and cooperated with the 4 people from the Hurricane Battalion to snipe on the ground. The rest of the gliders looked for their own targets. The sounds of gunshots rang out in the forest. The people from the 3 tribes were unwilling to give up. They no longer planned to continue hunting Shan Tusher and the others. Looking at the people flying in the sky, some threw away their weapons and knelt on the ground, while others ran away. The battle started quickly and ended quickly as well. The aerial troops were not in the mood to chase after the escapees. Firstly, they were not agile in changing directions, and secondly, they were blocked by trees, making it difficult to aim. They had to control the angle of the wind. If they flew too slowly, they would fall easily, but if they flew too quickly, they would not be able to find their target. Under the fear of the gods, the people who surrendered were quickly gathered and guarded. Sun Miao tried his best to suppress the urge to kill them personally. He said to Shan Tusher, "Tusher, should we kill them or not?" "No, leave it to me. Many of my subordinates have died, and I was worried that no one would work for me." Shan Tusher's eyes lit up. He estimated that there were more than 200 people who had surrendered. They could do all the dirty work for him. Sun Miao also planned to do the same. He asked the question for the hurricane camp, lest they would waste bullets and Shan Tusher's force would not be able to grow. The people of the hurricane camp were indeed waiting for Sun Miao's response. They had a rule that when the merchants contacted the locals overseas, they were only responsible for providing military support and not making decisions. They had to listen to the merchants, protect the merchants, and help the merchants achieve their goals. This was because merchants were more treacherous, and they could gain the most benefits with the support of military force. The squad leader nodded and said, Sun Dongjia will do as you say. Should we continue to attack? Attack with all your might. The 3 tribes are going to be wiped out. Capture the people and exchange them for resources with Brother Tusher. I've made up my mind. When I return to Luzhou, I'll pay 10% more taxes in the future. Sun Miao gritted his teeth and said. He was almost killed, and when he thought about it, he felt a lingering fear. He could not let go of the 3 tribes. Otherwise, more tribes would come to provoke them in the future. The squad leader did not comment. He did not care about the taxes. Instead, he made a hand gesture. The aerial troops that had not landed yet flew toward the 3 tribes, looking for their hideouts and providing coordinates for the ground troops. Compared to the glider wings that flew fast with the help of the sea breeze, the speed of Zhang Xiaobao and the others could not be faster. Even if he was given 160 days to fly around the Earth, let alone 80 days to circle the Earth, the wind direction was too much of an obstacle. When they flew from Jian'an to Feng Province in winter, they were facing the northwest wind. Fortunately, the pod was sealed well, and they had brought enough food and fuel. Otherwise, they would have to fly with the wind to go back. After flying up and down for more than a month, flying over mountains and rivers, they finally saw a grassland. It was a vast expanse of white. They didn't see Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, who were in the desert due to soil erosion, nor did they see any greenery. 88 hot air balloons slowly descended. Xiaobei and the other children who were tired of flying cheered and ran out. They kicked the snow with their feet, trying to see the covered grass below. Some people arranged to set up camp, and some people formed teams to patrol the surroundings. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan shivered from the cold wind that blew in their faces. They ran to the back of the pod to hide, and at the same time, they discussed how to incorporate the Turks into their forces. It seems that the Turks won't have an easy time this winter. It's really cold. When night comes, the people outside will probably be frozen into popsicles. Zhang Xiaobao sighed into his hands, looked up at the gloomy sky and said, You don't need to say that. They insist on running north. This year it might not be -40 degrees, maybe even 50 degrees. I want to know where they are now. When the time comes, I want to control their leader, tell them how good the great Tang is, and bring them back to live a happy life. Wang Wan had already thought of a way to deal with this. She couldn't rely on the addition of 50 children to form an army of 400 people to directly defeat hundreds of thousands of Turks. Zhang Xiaobao took out a small wine flask, took a sip, and handed it to Wang Wan. As he walked away, he said, Let's go and look around. Let's see if we can find some frozen snakes to cook porridge. Don't they say that there are many wolves on the steppe? If we can find a group, we can even eat some fresh meat. Wang Wan also drank a mouthful of wine, and her stomach felt better. She asked Zhang Xiaobao, When the wolves see so many of us, they've already run away in fear. Why would they wait for you to eat? Tell me, if you were the leader of the Turks, what would you do? Me. Zhang Xiaobao pointed at his nose and said, If it were me, I would lead the Turks to the west. I wouldn't run north. That would be fatal. With so many people under my command, I can probably fight all the way to the Mediterranean. I would make weapons along the way. I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you where you've run to now that you've already gone north. You can't always stay in a place where people freeze to death, right? Oh, you're talking about now. I don't want to be the leader of the Turks right now. I just want to know where we are. Where do you think we are? Have we reached Ho-Hot? How do we find the vast desert? I'm a bit regretful. I've decided to run to Hainan in the future. I won't be punished like this. Zhang Xiaobao rubbed his face. In just a short while, the wind had made it seem like his face was about to split open. There was clearly a layer of frost on his eyelashes. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't cold. Wang Wan was also worried. Without a map of this place, she had thought that she would be able to meet people and ask them. In the end, after flying for 2 days, she hadn't even seen a single living thing. The snow where they had landed was not thick, just reaching their ankles. If they were to go somewhere else, there would be snow more than a meter deep. If they were to throw Xiaobei in, his head wouldn't even be able to stick out. Pinching her forehead, Wang Wan helplessly said, "Let's just continue flying. We should have enough fuel after another half a month. If it really doesn't work, we'll just treat it as bringing Xiaobei out for vacation. That's the only thing we can do. Secret Service Officer K is really unreasonable." He was respectful to the Great Tang before, but when he saw that the Great Tang had advanced weapons, he didn't immediately take the initiative to join them. Instead, he took them and ran away, hindering the integration of the people. Zhang Xiaobao also couldn't think of a good idea. If it were summer, it would have been fine to ride a horse. Now, he could only complain about Secret Service Officer Quebec. Wang Wan looked at Xiaobei and the others who were still working hard to dig for grass and said, "In the past, Secret Service Officer K was honest because the internal situation was not stable. Then, there was trade and he obtained many benefits. He was prepared to become stronger one day. It was written in the book that he didn't get that opportunity. Our current plan is to directly swallow up the hundreds of thousands of people in the Turkic Khaganate and divide them through immigration. As Prince Xian of the left, who doesn't have soldiers under his command, how could he be willing? For ambitious people, the right to speak is the most important. We'll stay for the night and fly tomorrow morning. I don't believe that we won't be able to find traces of hundreds of thousands of people." Night came quickly. The tents were set up in a circle, and fuel was used to make a bonfire. The people sent out today were lucky enough to hunt a wolf in a pack. They skinned and deboned it with snow water and boiled it into soup for the more than 400 people. Although it was called a pack of wolves, there were actually only 12 wolves. They were all skin and bones from hunger. It was very pitiful. When the whistling cold wind blew, light snow floated down from the ink-black sky. The mercury thermometer couldn't measure the specific temperature, but the cold feeling in the tents was very clear. It was as if they were standing outside Jili province in winter. "It's really cold. In the future, don't move here." Xiaobei, who was covered in a blanket, tried to move closer to the brazier. He held the bowl of soup in his hands and muttered. The other 8 little guys also squeezed together. It was much warmer in the pod than here. Zhang Xiaobao stood up and touched the canvas of the tent. He said with schadenfreude, "I hope that the Turkic people also have light snow. I don't believe that they are as well prepared as we are. They are not fools. The felt made of fur can withstand the wind better than our tent. Okay, hurry up and drink the soup. It's time to tell the story." Chapter 860. More than 1,000 kilometers away from Xiaobei and the other 9 children in the story, tents covered by snow were arranged in various formations, and the frozen cows and sheep were piled up like hills. The green smoke from the burning cow dung drifted out as the tent flap opened and closed, quickly disappearing into the darkness of the night. Surrounded by several tents, the sound of music could be heard faintly from the largest and most luxurious tent in the middle. There was a small opening in the curtain of the tent, but there wasn't the slightest bit of cold inside. More than a dozen women wearing very little clothing were doing their best to sway their waists to the sound of music. A pot filled with milk wine was placed over the fire. The wine inside was bubbling and bubbling non-stop. The 2 people sitting close to each other on the wide felt blanket didn't even smile at this time. Maybe the women didn't dance well, or maybe the bonfire couldn't make people enthusiastic in the cold weather. One of the 2 waved his hand, Go down, all of you go down." The women who were still dancing suddenly stopped and saluted almost at the same time. They turned around and left with the smallest steps, afraid that they would disturb the two people if they were too loud. "It's cold again." The man who waved his hand waited for all the women in the tent to leave. He stared at the swaying flame of Weiwei and said 3 words that seemed to have no meaning. Many cows, sheep, and horses also froze to death. If the snow continues to fall until tomorrow morning, it is estimated that many people will die. It will be cold when the snow is light, and it will be heavy when the snow is heavy. It will be colder in 2 days, and it will be hard to walk on the road. The man next to him seemed to understand the meaning of the previous speaker. His face, which was caressed by the cold wind, showed a deep helplessness. The man who spoke earlier lowered his head. After a while, the firewood in the bonfire suddenly made a crackling sound. He raised his head again and looked in front of him, which was facing the south. He said, "The north of the Tang dynasty must have a lot of snow, and the north of Hebei province and Jili province may be covered in thick ice. So what? The closest place to us was Feng province. If it had been more than 10 years ago, perhaps a snowfall could have killed many people and livestock, and cut off the connection with the outside world. But now we didn't expect too much trouble to happen to them." Disaster relief in the Tang Empire had always been carried out by the army first. The army in Feng province was nominally under the control of the local government, but in reality, it was clear who had the final say. The ability of the Zhang family and the Wang family to provide goods, they called it logistics, did not need to be tested. The year before last, I remember that there was also a heavy snowfall. Almost all of it fell on Fengzhou. What was the result? After half a month, the supermarkets in Fengzhou city not only had enough food, but also fresh cucumbers and watermelons. This is a provocation to longevity heaven. Normally, when the road is clear, it would take at least a month for supplies to be delivered, but now that the road is sealed off by snow, it takes at least half a month for the goods to be delivered. In truth, I understand. They are telling us that no matter when, as long as the Great Tang moves against the Turks, they have the ability to deliver supplies with unimaginable speed. Just like the logistics camp in Yingzhou, before the soldiers have even moved, the provisions have already arrived. The person who said this was very unwilling to admit the speed of the Zhang family and the Wang family's logistics, but he had to admit it. There was admiration in his voice, but more than that, there was helplessness. The person who spoke first pursed his lips and sighed again. Yes, the logistics camp in Yingzhou is the first to provide supplies. As long as they are still there, no one dares to take advantage of them and deliver supplies in half a month. Damn it, who would have thought that they used dogs? If dogs can carry goods, they can also carry people. If they find our location now and transport 10,000 soldiers here, with the speed of dogs on the snow, we can't run away even if we want to. And the cavalry can't even lift their hooves. Since you know, there is no need to expect any losses in Jili province. The Zhang family and the Wang family have long been used to facing all kinds of difficulties. According to the saying passed down, they are kites that fly in adversity and become stronger when they meet strong opponents. Secret Service K, if there is no other way, let's go back and apologize. Li Longji won't kill people. The person called Secret Service K couldn't help but tremble. He closed his eyes and sighed again. Mo Shilian, are you afraid? Go back. Will there be any Turkic people if we go back? It's not like you don't know what that damned child Zhang Xiaobao is planning to do. He'll have Li Longji separate us Turks and place us in the various provinces of the Great Tang. Tubo is already doing that. Moji did not answer immediately. He scooped a bowl of wine from the pot, smelled the familiar smell, raised his head and drank it all. He burped and cut a piece of slightly burnt mutton from the rack of another bonfire with a knife. He put it in his mouth and smacked it twice, feeling that it did not taste good. He then said, "You're right. I'm afraid that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan will be free in the north of Hebei province and run here with their soldiers. At that time it won't be a question of whether we go back or not, But how many lives we have to pay to go back? I don't think they will be afraid of seeing blood when they kill people, so they won't do it. There's no salt in the meat, and we're also out of tea. In a few more days, we'll probably run out of wine and things to burn the fire. Do you dare to plunder like before? They're probably waiting for us. You haven't seen the power of the cannons, but I saw it with my own eyes. After the thunderous boom, the ground was littered with broken limbs. The people flying in the sky casually threw a torch at the provisions. Should we save them or not? Our generals can't run all over the place and continue to give orders while avoiding aerial attacks, right? Mo Shilian had just finished speaking when footsteps came from outside the tent, followed by a report. Reporting in the various circles of the headquarters, another 623 sheep have been frozen to death. I know, Mo Shilian replied, and then turned to Secret Service Quebec. Secret Service K aged a lot in an instant, and turbid tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. He pursed his lips for a while and let out a sobbing sound. He nodded twice and said, "When dawn comes, summon the leaders of the various tribes to discuss the matter of returning. At that time, I'll stay and live in the world of longevity and die in the world of longevity. No, if you stay, Li Longji will definitely be angry and think that you're competing with him. At that time, he'll kill the Turks." He hurriedly persuaded. He didn't want to see Secret Service K die like this. Then I'll live a few more days and go see Li Longji and the capital of the Tang Empire. Maybe I'll have a chance to see Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Secret Service K followed Mo Shilian's words and said, "The heavy snow in winter wasn't specially for the Turks and the Tang Empire. Even Xinlua and Neon felt the cold." Li Longji didn't know how Neon lived, but he knew a little about Xinlua. While soaking in the hot spring and experiencing this comfort, there was no trace of happiness on his face. The letter in his hand was wet, but he still read it over and over again. Then he said angrily to Gao Lisher, who had just finished lighting the incense, "How did you teach your son? We prepared a pool for them and wanted them to come and soak in it. But they didn't stay in Jilin province in the middle of winter and insisted on going to find the Turks. The journey is long and dangerous. If something happens, we will only ask you." Yes, this subject knows his mistake. Your Majesty is right. This subject didn't teach them well. This subject will send people to look for them. Gao Lisher nodded repeatedly. Send people to look for them. What a joke. It would be strange if we could find them. When they come back, we won't let them off easily. At that time, it'll be useless no matter who comes to plead. We will punish them by not allowing them to leave the capital for a month and have to cook for us every day. Yes, for a month. We will see if they dare to soak in the hot spring every day. Li Longji said angrily. Gao Lisher continued to nod. Yes, we have to punish them. They won't dare. This subject reckons that they won't dare, especially soaking in the hot spring. It's good that they won't dare. We heard that the people of Xinlua are doing well this year. Is there any new news? Tell us. Li Longji's face was back and he no longer bothered with this question. He believed that the two of them would be able to return safely, so he asked about Xinlua again. Yes, this subject will tell your Majesty that the people of Xinlua are doing well. The price of grain has dropped again and again. Now, 1 bushel of rice only costs 4 copper coins, and cloth is less than 1 copper coin. In addition, the snow is heavy in winter, so the people there use good charcoal for their homes. It's almost free. It's even better than our great Tang. Gao Lisher explained the situation to the emperor with a smile. A smile also appeared on Li Longji's face. He knew that the reason the grain was cheap was not because the Great Tang had lowered the price. The rice in the Great Tang was still 5 copper coins per bushel. It was because the local farmers couldn't sell the grain and had no choice but to lower the price. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the money to buy other necessities. As for the charcoal, it was naturally burned by the trees of Xinlua. The people in charge of this matter used a large number of luxury goods to bribe the local officials of Xinlua, allowing them to cut down trees with all their might. At the same time, they recruited local laborers. A portion of the charcoal was transported back to the Great Tang, and a portion was directly given to the workers in Shinlua as wages. There were many of them, so even if the workers sold them very cheaply, they would still make a lot of money. If Shinlua didn't stop it, what awaited them was the destruction of the country. If it weren't for the people from the Zhang family and Wang family telling me, I really wouldn't have known that trees were so important to a country. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have let people work so hard to open up the wasteland. It's actually related to mudslides, floods, and droughts. The source of the Yangtze River and Yellow River, as well as the various tributaries, have to be planted. I wonder what will happen to Shinlua in the end. Your Majesty, this subject reckons that there will be endless disasters. At that time we can't wait to force them to fight. We need to first get their people to the Great Tang through various excuses. Xiao Bao should have arrangements for this. Chapter 861. Sitting on the third floor of Chongfeng Pavilion, Li Dong was in a very good mood. Smelling the wine in the cup, there was an indescribable satisfaction. He had made a lot of money, and what he earned was the banknotes of the Tang dynasty. With the banknotes of the Tang dynasty, he could buy many good things in the Tang dynasty that the merchants of the Tang dynasty would not sell. County Magistrate Mu, the people in the county have been doing well this year, right? Li Dong took a sip of the wine in his cup. Through the open window, he looked at the light snow that was still drifting down from the sky and said, "Don't worry." The County Magistrate Mu, who was sitting opposite him, was a man in his 40s. Hearing his voice, the cold wind blew in from the window and brushed his cheeks. He showed 2 yellow teeth and nodded repeatedly. Not bad, not only not bad. The higher-ups have proposed to promote me, but I rejected it. No matter how good it is elsewhere, it is not as good as a place close to the border. This year there was a heavy snow, and not a single house in the county collapsed. Speaking of the Tang dynasty, the tools sold to Shinlua, as long as they are made of iron, the steel mouth is extraordinary, especially the long saws used to cut trees. With a few swishes, a thick tree will be cut in the blink of an eye. With wood, every house will be renovated. It is good. As County Magistrate Mu spoke, he seemed to think of something good. He smiled and his eyes narrowed. He also held a cup of wine and shook his head slightly. Li Dong also smiled. His hand that was not holding the cup picked up a fresh cucumber from the table and put it in front of his eyes to look at it. This is technology. Like cucumbers, the Tang dynasty has been able to plant them in winter. Shinlua just started to learn it today. It is not like the past. At that time, the Tang dynasty was very strict. But now, almost all the places slightly north of the Tang dynasty are planted. It is impossible to keep it a secret. The only thing that makes people sullen is that it is easy to learn how to plant cucumbers in winter, but there is no chance to steal the method of making steel. I heard that someone came to you last month to discuss building a smelting workshop in this county. You have to send someone to take a look. If they can learn it, it will be a great merit. Speaking of technology, Li Dong once again felt the benefits of the Tang dynasty's banknotes. Ever since the Great Tang banknote had been introduced, one had to use the money of the Great Tang in order to buy good things in the Great Tang. The copper coins of the past had become useless. Medicinal herbs, high-quality clothes, exquisite glass products, and exquisite pottery had to be bought with the money of the Great Tang. There was clearly an exchange ratio between the Great Tang's money and the Xian Luo's money, but the Great Tang did not allow them to exchange for the Great Tang's money. They could only sell the goods to obtain the Great Tang's money. The problem was that Shinlua could only sell a few metals other than charcoal, and the Great Tang was doing its best to lower the price. Coupled with the 20% tariff, it was not easy to earn some money from the Great Tang. It was only because he was more familiar with the people of the Great Tang that he knew what the Great Tang liked, and thus he was the first to find a business opportunity and make a profit. It was not so easy for other merchants. Perhaps it was because they had a telepathic connection. County Magistrate Mu also thought of this matter. He looked at the watermelon on the table, licked his lips and said, "Boss Lee, cucumbers are good, but watermelons have to be bought from the Great Tang. I heard from the people of Chongfeng Pavilion that this winter, they spent a lot of money just to buy watermelons from the Great Tang. We have to think of a way to get glass, preferably the manufacturing technology of glass. Boss Lee, what do you think about finding more merchants and working together to gather money to bribe the officials in charge of manufacturing glass in the Great Tang? I don't believe that there is nothing that money can't buy." Li Dong fell into deep thought for a moment. Without waiting for him to speak, County Magistrate Mu continued, "The Great Tang is indeed good to our Xinlua. They sell food at a cheaper price than the local Great Tang. This is the etiquette of the Great Tang. There is also cloth and silk. But why don't they use the Great Tang's money to buy charcoal?" Li Dong and Wei Wei nodded. It was as County Magistrate Mu said. The merchants of the Great Tang came to cooperate with the Great Tang to use the land, cut down trees and burn charcoal, but they did not give the Great Tang money. They only gave a large amount of charcoal to the people who worked. Ordinary people, even merchants who did not do much business, had never seen the Great Tang's banknotes, let alone use them. "Boss Lee, do you think we can buy the manufacturing technology of glass if we gather 1 million strings of cash? Once we get it, then..." County Magistrate Mu said to Li Dong as he recalled the scene of him lying on the glass mountain. Before he could finish, Li Dong laughed. "Haha, County Magistrate Mu, wake up, stop dreaming. Glass, do you know where glass comes from? Luzhou, which is very far away from the Great Tang's capital. They would rather send glass to various places in the Great Tang from afar and bear the losses caused by the instability of the ships and vehicles on the road than set up a few more places in the Great Tang to make glass. Isn't it all to keep it a secret? If you go there with 1 million strings of cash, you will be caught as soon as you take it out. If it is someone else's business, maybe you can put pressure through the officials of the Great Tang such as the Ministry of Works to get the secret. But who dares to go to the Zhang family and Wang family's business? Even if you are not a spy, you will be interrogated as a spy. Besides, the current head of the Ministry of Works is Zhang Zhong, the head of the Zhang family. Then what should we do?" County Magistrate Mu's hot water cooled down and asked in frustration. "Endure and pretend. Look at Japan, they know how to endure and pretend. They are obviously farther away from the Great Tang than we are from Xinlua, but they can pretend to be subservient and deliberately curry favor with the Great Tang. Isn't it to make the Great Tang lower its guard and think that they are not a threat and easy to cheat of the technology?" Li Dong also considered this problem. If he wanted to get good technology, he could only wait for the Great Tang to give him. He couldn't show any ambition. County Magistrate Mu exhaled hot air through his nose, gritted his teeth and said, "I understand. When spring comes next year, several factories of the Great Tang will be built in this county. I will choose clever people to work there. See more, listen more, think more and ask less. Let the Great Tang people think that we are stupid and let their guard down. Well, that's good. In the future, go to between the clouds and the water or blue sea silver sand to eat more. There are many merchants of the Great Tang there. Maybe you can get some useful information." After saying that, Li Dong no longer mentioned this matter and lowered his head to eat and drink. Just as the two of them had said, the houses of the people of Xinlua were well built. Countless firewood had been cut down. When the weather was cold, they didn't have to worry about freezing. However, when the farmers lived in good houses, they were not in a good mood. This year's grain was sold, and the money they earned was less than half of last year's. If not for the Great Tang people coming to recruit workers, they probably wouldn't have been able to survive the new year. When the work was done, would all the farmers starve to death except for those whose land was requisitioned? Under the support of such thoughts, the farmers felt that this winter was even colder. It was cold from the inside out. They didn't know what would happen next year. A few days passed quietly. When some people were happy and some were sad, Zhang Tai brought a person to find Li Dong and set up a banquet at the Blue Sea Silver Sand restaurant. In order to let Li Dong eat well, He deliberately made a double pot. One side was clear soup, and the other side was spicy. Some of the few chilies were taken out. Of course, they were all chilies without seeds. The seeds had to be planted. At the sight of the red stuff, Li Dong was amazed. He had eaten the double pot before. It was made from a kind of material on the mountain. After more than 10 processes, it could be made spicy enough. However, he had not seen red ones. This is. Li Dong raised his chopsticks and wanted to taste it.